About to get a tornado watch issued from much of southeast Louisiana as we go forward as well too. Take a look right now here at the latest radar. We're watching this line of storms coming on in here as it moves in from the east. It's tapping into what's been a dry morning but a very unstable atmosphere, and that's allowing us to see storms, and especially this one right here. This is the one we're keeping an eye on, that tornado warning there that goes in effect till 10 a.m. There was a severe thunderstorm warning that has now been upgraded to tornado warning until 10 o'clock this morning with that storm as it moves on in. You can see here on the latest rotation, there is some strong rotation with this right over Pankardville toward the Belrose area here. Some of you may be familiar, may have some camps up that way. You can see here as the storm continues to work its way out of that location, though, still in far northern part of Assumption Parish, but about to cross into St. James Parish momentarily. And as that moves on in, that will be impacting areas like Whitehall, Emill area, and eventually over toward Lutcher if it holds together. So if you're watching us in the Lutcher area, getting to you around 10-11, so you have a while till it gets to your location, but we're watching this one moving off to the east roughly about 30 miles per hour, and as the storm continues in that direction, though, it has some strong rotation with it. I have not seen any debris. When we look at our debris detector out there, I've not seen anything show up yet in the history of this. Possibly could have tried to see something in Pankerville right in through there. You see kind of a little bit of a change from the red to some of the yellows. If we'd see some of the blues, we'd be more inclined to say there's potentially a tornado in that location. May have been a brief one. We could still see one trying to develop in that area, but this storm again has some very strong rotation with it, and with the storm as it continues to march off to the east right around say 30 miles per hour, just about to move into St. James Parish. The far western part of the parish will kind of clip the northern part of the parish at this point as well too, and possibly toward the Lutcher area by 10-11 this morning. So that's why we're going on air. And now the New Orleans area metro is fine. Just want to alert you to those storms we're watching there. You can see here nothing yet in the city. That will be arriving a little bit later on this morning closer to lunchtime, but there's storms coming up to the north. You see that tornado warning there. We also have severe thunderstorm warning in effect for the rest of St. James Parish down toward the area down toward the Thibodaux area too for this part of the line of storms, and there's even another tornado warning for the storm kind of working its way through the Morgan City area as well. It's kind of far from the radar, but there's enough rotation to say there's something might be going on there. Points to the north, we have tornado warnings in the Baton Rouge area with these storms coming out of Port Vincent into Livingston Parish. Need to keep an eye on these. These are heading toward the Hammond area, still pretty far away from that area, but as we take a look here at the rotation, by far that's the strongest rotation there near the Pankardville area. We also have what could possibly be a tornado right here across part of Livingston Parish, just south of the town of Livingston. We're looking at this right in through here is where the possible tornado would be. Again, there could very well could possibly be some even tornado in that location right in through here. That's kind of the debris detector. This would show that possibility that debris could be possibly tossed into the air and being picked up by the radar. So we're watching that one very closely as well. Going back to the velocity, you can see that's the one we're watching down in St. James Parish. Also, a storm producing a possible tornado here up just north of French Settlement, south of the town of Livingston, which is outside our viewing area. And then we did have another warning that was up to the north. We were watching a storm kind of going between Walker area, and this one's kind of fizzling out, but kind of north of Livingston. But these storms in general, especially this one here to the south, we need to keep an eye on. This one here is moving off to the northeast, and let me get a clock on that one. You're not anywhere near it right now in the Hammond area, but there's a potential that you could be getting pretty close to that one as well, heading forward here on into the next little while. This one for Livingston Parish here, again, near the Port Vincent area, which is that one right there, moving northeast at 30 miles per hour. So doing a track on this one, take that northeasterly track, that would take it to Hammond around 10:16 this morning. So I want to give you a big heads up, though. This one potentially is a tornado. Looking at the debris detection, again, this one we're watching has possibly a tornado. That means it's on the ground producing some damage there. That's a very rural area for Livingston Parish. If you're not familiar with it, used to work up that way, been through all parts of that area near Frost. Frost is very, very small town, but we can see that up there. Weather Service now agreeing tornado detection detection signature is being reported on that, which means it's likely there is a tornado on the ground there in Livingston Parish. Now, yes, it's outside our viewing area, but as you see on the forecast track with this, it would take it closer to Hammond, possibly Tickfaw area as we get just beyond the 10 o'clock hour if this storm holds together. So that's why we're going to watch that one fairly closely. Again, looking at the debris detection with this, the tornado would be right there. This is where that tornado would be. That little yellow dot, that is the tornado currently on the ground. Again, moving off to the northeast at 30 miles per hour. If it holds together, again, would be roughly, again, the Hammond area just after 10 Independence, around 10:23. Again, it would have to hold together and travel that distance for it to make it that far. So that one looks like potentially here, at least on radar, we have a confirmed tornado in Livingston Parish. As we go back a little bit, we'll go over and look at those storms. Back here, we're watching over on into, let's see, this one here coming out of Assumption Parish into St. James, into our viewing area. Let me put a new forecast track on this one here. This one, again, showing very strong rotation as well, too. It is moving off to the northeast, still at 30 miles per hour. Looking at debris detection with it. Kind of hard to tell if there is anything at this point. There may have been something briefly at Pankardville, but nonetheless, though, we're still watching this one closely as the storm moves off northeast here, right around, say, 30 miles per hour. Kind of bringing into this area, possibly there into Salzburg. They're part of St. James Parish and right over the parish line in McElroy there into Ascension Parish. However, if you're in the Lutcher area, I don't want to say you're totally in the clear with this one. As we kind of look at the direction it's been moving, you'll see here that kind of going back a little ways, kind of right through to Pankerville, Napoleonville, and Assumption Parish, and kind of curving its way through. So, again, if I can get a better forecast track on this one here, too. Let's see here. We're right in through here. Again, maybe possibly just north of the Lutcher area with this. A new tornado watch has just been issued by the Storm Prediction Center for our area. Get an update on this one here for you in just a minute. But this one will be continuing to work its way through, potentially, let's see here, till about 5 o'clock this evening. Looks like the tornado watch is going in effect until across our area. So again, watching a couple of storms. This one has the potential to produce a tornado, has very strong rotation, but have not seen anything tied in with it right now that would show me to have debris on the ground. However, the storm we're watching to the north of that one, that is the one we've been watching that does have, looks like at least a Doppler radar confirmed tornado. That is this one right here. See that yellow circle there, or right near the just south of Livingston? This is where that tornado is, and according to the radar, that means debris is being lofted into the air and is being sent up and then eventually working its way across the region here. Looking at the latest velocity with this one here, that is where the tornado also would be located here. Now, yes, I understand this one is outside our viewing area, but if you look at the forecast track for this one, moving northeast, right around 30 miles per hour, that would put it again in the Hammond area around 10:15, 10:20, up toward Albany there around 10:06, so possibly into our viewing area right after the 10 o'clock hour. Again, assuming the storm continues to hold itself together during that time frame. But this by far is definitely what we would consider, according to the radar, a confirmed tornado based off of the radar showing debris. This is debris. When you see that little yellowish color to orange color, and sometimes it turns blue, that does tell me that radar is detecting debris is being lofted into the air with this storm over there in Livingston Parish. Now, the one we've been watching closer to our neck of the woods here, this one here, this one has very strong rotation with it as well, too, just crossing over now into St. James Parish, right along the parish line there. That storm, again, has very strong rotation. Looking at some of the winds, we're talking 70 to 90 mile an hour winds potentially if a tornado would potentially develop in that location with this storm here as it's now crossing in. I'm going to get a little tighter shot for you here with this one. These are those really, really strong winds. It's coming right along the parish line. Let's see, that's LA 70 has just crossed over LA 70, LA 3127. Right there by the intersection of LA 70, heading over to parts of just near the south of Donaldsonville there as you get closer to the Sunshine Bridge. This storm will be moving its prey pretty close to where that Sunshine Bridge is located, and potentially producing at least some damaging winds across northern part of St. James Parish. It likely work its way toward the Helvetia, not quite sure if I'm saying that right, area, back to the Emil area and Burton Lane, LA 18, LA 44, some big traveled routes there across the parish as you get by the river there, and then closing way, possibly if it can hold itself together, maybe even toward the Letcher area, pretty close to Letcher and Gramercy area as well. You're not in that area where we're looking at the moment, but definitely something worth watching very closely here with that storm. Right now, according to the Weather Service, they do have a confirmed tornado right now, the one up in Livingston Parish there, 14 miles southwest of Hammond, moving northeast at 30 miles per hour. This one, again, possibly will be staying over the rural parts of Livingston Parish, which is good news. But nonetheless, though, definitely worth watching that one. This one showing very strong rotation as it works its way now into parts of St. James Parish, kind of the northwestern part of the parish there. This one here, again, showing the potential for some tornado there, but we have nothing confirmed yet. And you can see some of that when you have the greens there next to those blues. This is some really strong rotation. Potentially here, kind of looking at it, we're talking velocity, 73 mile per hour winds. You have some strong shear with this storm as it continues to move on into that area. Again, I know it's kind of a rural part of St. James Parish, but we'll be continuing kind of working its way there northeast, right around, say, 30 miles per hour. So Helvetia area, that's kind of what we're looking at. McElroy right along the parish line of Ascension in St. James Parish. This one here continue to move its way there off to the northeast, right around 30 miles per hour with that storm. Going back to the debris detection, not really seeing anything with this one yet, which is some good news. That just means that we haven't seen anything, at least debris being lofted in the air, but definitely worth watching this one pretty closely. Points to the north where we do have that confirmed tornado. That is this right here. See that yellow right and orange is right in the middle of all the red. This is what we call debris being detected on the Doppler radar, and that is actually working its way here kind of close to I-12 as it goes closer to the Livingston area. It looks like it was very impressive right there around 9:30 and kind of working its way there off to the northeast, though, closing in on Livingston, the city of Livingston itself. This is where we're looking right here, and you look at that debris detection, and right there, that is where we do have a Doppler radar confirmed tornado. When you see debris being lofted in the air, that's what we're looking at. Let's see. So yeah, we're watching that now. It's kind of worked its way up close to I-12. I wonder if I could see here. Watching that one, that may be moving just north of the Hammond area, but definitely a brighter color here means there's definitely some debris with that storm as it worked its way in toward the city of Livingston. Again, this would be a confirmed tornado, at least by Doppler radar as well with this one as it moves its way toward the Livingston area. I'm going to go ahead and see if I can watch this one, see if I can see traffic cameras there. There is a traffic. There have been some cameras up in Livingston. And, of course, if they are working, that'd be great. Unfortunately, not seeing any of those cameras. Let's see here. Turn the cameras on. Let's see here. Livingston, Satsuma. This would be the closest camera. Not seeing anything, just some strong winds coming on in toward the area, which would be pretty close to where this is. Coming on in, I'm trying to see if I can find a camera, DOTD camera there, right near Satsuma. That's where the tornado is. This is what we're talking about. This is a tornado right here being picked up on the Doppler radar. This is debris being lofted into the air. This tornado, if it holds together, and so far it has for quite some time, potentially working its way northward across the area this morning, and be watching this one as it continues its way northward there on in toward Livingston. But according to Doppler radar, we do have a tornado there. That one is worth watching because it will be heading northward here and northeastward, potentially on across Livingston Parish, and then into maybe up toward, maybe just missing Hammond toward Independence. That would occur around just after 10:20 on the Albany area around 10:21, Independence around 10:25 area if that tornado holds together right now. Very heavy rain coming from the thunderstorm just tied in with this in general, but that one is, we do have a confirmed tornado with this storm right now as it continues its working its way there on and across Livingston Parish at this time. Back closer to home, just watching those storms here coming out of into Ascension Parish or St. James Parish now from Assumption Parish, and still strong rotation tied in with this one here as it's coming right over the northern part of St. James Parish. I have not seen any signs of a, well, maybe we'll have to wait for one more sweep, but potentially there could be a tornado right here across the area here, possibly seeing. Let's see here, just kind of give me a second to analyze this, folks, but right in through there, that's potentially where we could see a tornado. That matches up exactly where that rotation is showing up in the same location, so it's very possible here across northern parts of the St. James Parish area, this would be a possible tornado. That yellowish orange color you see embedded right along the parish line there, that is what we could potentially call a tornado here. That is right north of the, let's see, it's right along LA 70, heavy traveled route. This should be just past the Sunshine Bridge, going on in closer to Airline Highway and also the I-10 corridor there. Not seeing any reports in Weather Service confirming that yet, but that's where we potentially could have a tornado. You notice how there's nothing and then it just shows up. That could potentially be some debris right in this location here, right in the northern part of St. James Parish, just after crossing the Sunshine Bridge, potentially here with this possible tornado coming on into that area. So right along the parish line. I know it's kind of a very rural area for those, maybe there's plant workers that are familiar with that. But again, right along LA 70, right along LA 70 where it meets LA 22, just south of there, south of I-10, headed toward the Sorrento area. Putting a tracker on this, there's not much out there. Near LA 22. Let's see here. McElroy is the only one really town impacted. However, the latest scan does not really show as much debris with this one, so it may have been a brief tornado. We now have a tornado watch in effect for the entire area, by the way, that goes in effect until 5 o'clock. So that's the storm we were watching. You saw right through there, had some right there, the intersection right along LA 70, just across the Sunshine Bridge. It looks like possibly there was a tornado not too far from the Whitehall area right along LA 70. Moving this forward here, looks like it may have lifted or still some lighter debris heading toward I-10 at Sorrento. So watching that one, since that one's impacting us a little closer to us, kind of working its way down to the south. Want to see what we have going on here. I'm trying to find a camera here that potentially could confirm something of what we're looking at. Let's see, there is a camera there, show video. Okay, let's see here. Trying to see if I can see anything in this location here. There are a couple cameras I'm looking at, folks. That's the storm we're watching, though. I know for those that are watching in New Orleans, you're probably like, why are we talking about this? Nothing's happening in the city. Well, folks, no matter what, if there's a possible tornado warning, we're going to go on air. We're going to cover it no matter who is impacted, no matter how far away it might be from where we are from the city. While the city looks pretty good right now, this is a potential or possible tornado about to cross over I-10 just outside our area here, but into Ascension St. James Parish line. The parish line is right here, and you can see where Airline Highway is, this location here. Here's Interstate 10 kind of coming on through as well, too. So all those areas we're watching here as this storm potentially is going to go close to the Sorrento area. And possibly right near the McElroy to Barman area, just near Sorrento with that storm. It does have some strong rotation with it still, and this is kind of where we're looking in this area here, whoops, with where the rotation is. And again, so that's kind of where we're watching closely to see if there is a possible tornado with this one. I will say that's what we're watching very closely here at this time, but we also have that storm now crossing Interstate 12. Up to the north. This storm actually had a tornado, and it kind of worked its way toward Livingston area, and it's kind of cycled its way back toward Livingston as well, which is some good news with that one. But nonetheless, though, it looks like that storm potentially here would have been embedded in the rain. You wouldn't have been able to see that anyway. So still, nonetheless, though, looking at that storm was pretty impressive. The one to the south we're keeping an eye on coming through Sorrento. That's this storm here we've been watching very closely coming through part of the Sorrento area, just part of St. James Parish as well too. That storm continues to be kind of a storm we've been watching closely with the threat for possibility of a tornado with that one. Again, this is all part of this line of coming through that not only does it have heavy rain and severe storms with it, but also we're looking at these storms producing some tornadoes, some damaging winds, and again, not quite into the city. The city, New Orleans, we're still dry. Up toward the Hammond area, we're watching that tornadic storm kind of moving probably just north of you the way things look right now. But nonetheless, though, we're going to keep a close eye on that one as it continues to kind of work its way out of Livingston Parish and any closer to the I-12 corridor here. Not seeing anything on the traffic cameras, which is good. Just heavy rain right where LA-10 and LA-22 meet there over into parts of the Sorrento area. Points to the north again, we are watching very closely over toward the Livingston Parish area. Aside from very heavy rain falling, unfortunately not a camera right in that location of where that tornado, likely tornado was at this time. So still watching that pretty closely, but still we're continuing to watch this as well with that tornado there. Still that tornado warning, still keeping an eye on. Also new severe thunderstorm warning just coming in now. This one's for parts of Terrebonne and Lafourche parishes until 10:15. That would be this storm coming right through parts of southern part of Ascension Parish, though, heading farther to the south. You can see that line of storms coming on in. Still that tornado warning to 10 o'clock for the Morgan City area, but the rest of that storm has potential some damaging winds coming into Houma and Thibodaux area as we get on into around, say, it goes till 10:15, 9:52 our current time. This is moving east around 30 miles per hour, so go ahead and time this one out for you here with this one. And we are looking at this storm kind of sneaking on into those areas, moving east to 30, and it does bring it into, let's see, Shreveport around 10:26, Houma at 10:34, Raceland around 10:51, Matthews 10:56. You have almost an hour till you get to some of those areas, but Houma around 10:34, so about a 30-minute or so time frame, 40-minute time frame until it gets to your neck of the woods. So just keep that in mind with that storm as it continues to move on in closer and closer to your area at this hour. And on top of all this, we do have heavy flash flooding and flooding rains potentially. Excuse me, with all these storms too, as they move on in toward the parts of the Houma area as well. So heavy rain threat is a big deal. Severe weather threat also a big problem for us as well too. And we do have that new tornado watch in effect. I'll put this watch box on here, and you'll see here kind of zooming out. We are looking at, let's see, tornado watch, turn that on. Those areas here, turn off the radar. That is where the tornado watch is in effect. You can see here again, much of southeast Louisiana, Mississippi coast until 5 o'clock because these storms have not all of a sudden, we've been talking about it all morning. I did all morning on the show about the potential for tornadoes across the area. So again, watching this storm kind of working its way out of northern St. James Parish. The warning goes for another 6 minutes. We'll keep an eye on that. Severe thunderstorm warning south of that. This one goes until 10 o'clock for the one across St. James Parish, northern part of Lafourche Parish, and then south of Thibodaux, Shreveport area back down toward Houma. That severe thunderstorm warning goes into effect till 10:15. There is that tornado warning for the Morgan City area as well too. And looking at velocity, we've seen some strong rotation with this storm here coming just south of the Morgan City area as well. So we're keeping an eye on that one. Also, we're looking at that stronger rotation here across northern St. James Parish, heading on into far southeastern Ascension Parish now. When you see those blues, that is some strong winds that have been going on into that area. And you'll notice here, this is kind of where we're looking, this area right in through here for possible tornado. Looking at the debris detection, fortunately not seeing it. Did potentially see something right there just as it crossed over the Sunshine Bridge, but still watching that closely. What's left of it kind of has dissipated as well. And to the north, we are watching that storm up across parts of the Livingston Parish area. Looks like that storm has kind of maybe worked its way on in, kind of turned and then went to the north across I-12, Highway 90, and kind of in north of Satsuma area there between Walker and Livingston. So again, potentially some debris still tied in aloft. The radar is picking that up as it moves on in. But that was the tornado earlier here over rural parts of Livingston Parish, kind of worked its way up to the north, crossing I-12 near the Satsuma exit there. If you're familiar with that, and kind of maybe the debris being lofted into the atmosphere at that point as well too. So here in New Orleans, again, we are looking at Again, the line of storms moving closer to us. We told you earlier, being the western fringes by 10 o'clock, likely the city here as we go forward here on into the 10 o'clock time frame there, and then noonish across our area. Latest model forecasts still show that we could see the storms kind of working the way closer into the area here as we go on into, let's see here. Go back a little bit here. There's the line of storms right now coming into the New Orleans metro area at noon on into 1:30 in the afternoon. That kind of tapers off. New storms could form now. It looks like this evening behind that line, forming into a new line east of New Orleans toward Biloxi and Mobile. So we'll be watching those very closely for you here. Again, we're on air for us here watching Great Day Louisiana on Channel 4. We are doing more and more of kind of watching the storms kind of moving on in. We have a tornado warning in effect for 3 more minutes. This one is for parts of the St. James, right along St. James, and also right along the area of Ascension Parish. Actually new, let's go ahead here, this just updated here. New tornado warning now in effect. This one goes in effect till 10:30. Possible tornado Gonzales, Sorrento, just like we were talking about, but has now been included to be moving its way off to the northeast at 35, clipping parts of maybe even St. John, west central St. John the Baptist Parish. So again, that's the storm we're watching. This one here looks like it may be getting a little bit stronger. Again, right around the I-10 kind of Sorrento area. This is kind of where we're looking right in through here, and it's moving off to the northeast at 35 miles per hour now. And as that moves on in, this is going to be kind of working its way through part toward Lake Maurepas area, so it could be clipping part of St. John. Still looking at McRoy area there right around 9:58 or right now, and Denison at 10:20 as well. So still watching this one very closely here with that storm as it moves on in. So we're going to keep a close eye on this storm as we go forward here as it moves its way on into the northeast at 35, affecting Ascension, St. James Parish, and potentially kind of clipping maybe the far kind of northern part of St. John Parish at this point. Again, very rural areas to get toward Lake Maurepas. Now, also just in a new severe thunderstorm warning has just been coming in now. This one is going to encompass a larger area. Let me go back to the radar and show you what this one is here. This one's now including part of the Laplace area too. This new severe thunderstorm warning coming on in, that one does include St. John the Baptist, St. James, St. Charles, Terrebonne, Tangipahoa, Lafourche, Assumption Parish till 10:45. That's for this entire line coming in. So again, that's the new one coming in that goes until 10, let's see here, right around the 10:45 warning there. This one's that storm, let me turn off these warnings, there's a lot going on there. That's this line of storms coming on in, moving off there to the northeast at 40 miles per hour. So let me kind of do a little storm track for you here with this one. We have that tornado watch in effect till 5 o'clock as well for today. But what we'll be seeing here is this line of storms continues to kind of work its way on in toward now Hammond, starting to feel the impacts of it, moving off to the northeast. That line itself getting on into Laplace around 10:08, so in just about 9 minutes. Norco 10:21, Hahnville 10:24, Mandeville 10:43, and eventually Boulder-Gulusa by 11 o'clock, assuming it holds together that long during that time frame. So this line of storms now is kind of what we're watching here for potentially for damaging winds. Cannot rule out tornadoes. We've had a history of them already across part of the area, and the potential still exists for these storms to maybe produce a few tornadoes. Still have that one tornado warning in effect here till 10 o'clock. That one should be expiring momentarily, but it's likely they may continue that one. Well, we do have the new one actually that just came out. That one till 10:30 again for part of that same area. So watching that one closely for us here. Go ahead and turn some of these off so you can see what we're talking about. There we go. That's the storm we're watching here closely. Potentially kind of the rain trying to wrap around something there. There's been some strong rotation where we're looking is this area right in through here for a possibility of a tornado. Looking at the debris detection, I'm not seeing anything right now, but potentially had some earlier right here and may have produced a brief tornado near the Sunshine Bridge, then kind of lifted, and as the storm has moved its way northward, I haven't seen anything yet, but it does like potentially have a history of producing maybe a tornado. at that time. So again, still watching that one here. As all part of this line of strong to severe storms coming on in. You can see here where we're watching that strong rotation crossing over right at I-10 and Airline Highway. That area there is a traffic camera there. Let's see here if it's trying to pick up anything. At this point, I'm not seeing too much other than some very heavy rain falling, just looking at the cameras. But there is a potential here, some darker skies there, a lot of lightning coming on in, but potential for maybe a possibility of some strong winds. Can't rule out a tornado with that storm. Again, it's just right at or along the parish line of St. James and Ascension Parish at this point with that storm as it kind of moves its way through that area. There's kind of where we're looking for this storm to kind of move on in. It's pointing to the north, it's pointing to the south. Best option was this one here. As that one continues to move on in, that's giving us our best visibility of maybe if there was a tornado. I'm looking at the online and the traffic cameras here. We're trying to get some other cameras up for us, but potentially could see maybe a tornado with this one here. Again, looking at the debris detection, now there's something showing up here potentially with this one. Wouldn't be surprised if we do have a tornado possibly just crossing over I-10 and Airline Highway. Based off of what I'm seeing on the radar here, possibly there. Let's see. Let's see, possibility of a tornado there across the area this hour too. Let's see here. Let's see, I'm trying to look there. Okay, here we go. Let's see here. Go back to the velocity product here. And this would be just over the parish line. I would not be surprised, folks, if we do have a tornado there. Looking at the latest radar sweep coming on in, this area right in through here, this is right over the parish line. This would have just crossed over Airline Highway here again, trying to get potential. There is a traffic camera there. I did not see anything. The traffic cameras are no longer working. Don't want to surmise what that might mean, but you can't get the traffic cameras to work there. That would mean the tornado would have crossed right over that location. Again, this is just outside the area, but likely a tornado in this location crossing just over where Airline Highway and I-10 intersect, just past the St. James Parish line. Strong, very strong rotation showing up with this storm right now. And when you look at the debris detector, yes, there is likely a tornado there, folks, right now. This is a very rural part of now Ascension Parish, moving just out of St. James Parish. It's going to be crossing over the Amy River here shortly, not too far away from Sorrento. And we do have some of you that can get us there, but this storm is looking very impressive. Yes, Weather Service confers strong tornado detection signature on that storm. That is the tornado. There is likely a tornado observed, confirmed tornado according to the Weather Service in Sorrento. Again, moving northeast at 30 miles per hour. So we do have another tornado. This storm here moving northeast at 30 miles per hour. Again, it's going to be just outside the immediate WWL TV viewing area and across part of let's see, that is Ascension Parish, heading on into Livingston Parish, about to cross the Amy River. I'll zoom on in closer into the area here, and some of you may be familiar with that area. This is going to be right kind of still in the rural part of the area, coming on in closer to us. Let's see. Let's see here. This one is moving closer to Lake Maurepas and heading over toward, let's see, right over southern Livingston Parish. Not much out there. That's a good thing. If you have to have a tornado, rather be hitting trees than a populated area. But this is our tornado right here, folks. This is what we call a tornado detection signature. This is what we see in the radar. What is that yellow? That is debris being sucked up by the tornado and lofted into the air. And the Doppler radar, when it sweeps around, it is picking up the debris on the radar. And that is what we're looking at right here as we go forward on into the area as well too. And if we can watch this one really closely here and finally see the storm is going to be again just outside the New Orleans area, but we have a confirmed tornado. This is not a possible tornado anymore. We do have a confirmed tornado. You can see it kind of sticking out like a sore thumb right there. That is moving off to the northeast right around 30 miles per hour. Again, if it holds together, that supercell could try to get to Hammond. That would be a long stretch right around 10:53, getting on in closer to say Maurepas 10:21, Clio around 10:26, Killian around 10:32, Springfield again. This is just outside our area, more the Baton Rouge viewing area, but we have to watch these storms because the whole line, remember, is moving off to the east, and so this could work its way and kind of clip part of not only Livingston areas but like Maurepas area as well too. And so this is about to cross into, say, across the Amite River into Livingston Parish. But that right there, that is your tornado. This is something we've been able to see with the new technology here with the Doppler radars. That is your tornado. We were tracking this one earlier. It just kind of off to the right now west of Sorrento or east of Sorrento area, north of the McElroy area, and moving on into just in part of it, Ascension Parish, about to cross the Amite River on into parts of Livingston Parish. It's going to be hitting up toward LA 22 in Livingston Parish, holding together. Again, I know it's just outside our area, but holding together eventually on into the Maurepas area, Denison area, Clio area as well, Magnolia Landing area. If this tornado holds together, crossing over there, the Diversion Canal nearby as well too. If you're familiar with boating, it's right over top of the Amite River by the Diversion Canal at this point as it crosses over the parish. Coming closer and closer on in to that area. But this one has just kind of formed a tornado near Airline Highway and also I-10 earlier, trying to get the traffic cameras to work, and they're not working. So I don't want to say that's because of a tornado, but that's where likely it would have formed, crossing right around I-10 at LA 60, or rather US 61, Airline Highway there. And now this is our tornado. This is the main story we have right now. This one here working way off to the northeast though. And as it does, again, it's just outside our viewing area, but potentially could come back in if it gets toward Tangipahoa Parish. Maurepas there around 10:21, Magnolia Landing 10:24, just beyond that time frame. But when we look at the radar, we're able to show you that is the tornado. If there's a tornado happening, that is what it looks like. And here's what it looks like on the regular radar, probably amongst the mess of the rain. There is a hook echo. Actually, you can kind of see it better now. Right through here. This is it, kind of curving around like that. And then the tornado would be somewhere right into like this location here where the rain's wrapping around. And you have kind of an outflow. This is a supercell thunderstorm. We talk about that. This is that storm we're watching here, kind of just crossed out of St. James Parish into far southern part of Ascension Parish near Sorrento area and working its way across the Amite River Diversion Canal area, heading into southern Livingston Parish. I know just outside our viewing area. And for those that want local programming, you can find it somewhere else. We're worried about, we have a confirmed tornado on the ground at this point. I know it's kind of a rural area just immediately outside the area, but the bigger perspective of this, if we zoom out, will show that this storm has the potential here. Let's see, go ahead and take off all of this. Coming back into the viewing area near the Hammond area if it holds together. So this is the storm. You can see here kind of with the debris, this is velocity. This is the area we're looking right in through here. That's where your strong rotation is. So you have reds going away from the radar. And then you have the other colors, the blues going toward the radar. And with that, you have your counterclockwise circulation. You put your debris detection on, and right there, that is where we have that. That is where we have that debris being picked up by the Doppler radar. Tornado detection signature, it's called. So at this point, again, it's a very rural area, but we do have, again, the storm producing a potential tornado, or likely a tornado in that area as well, too. Let me go back in here and kind of reconfigure this where we are, since the storm is moving fairly quickly. There is kind of a hook echo type look to this storm, as we do have here kind of coming on into the area. This storm is likely going to be just crossing over the Amite River. The Amite River is this little squiggly line right here, for those not familiar with that area. But this is our supercell. The storm is wrapping itself around, and potentially a tornado in the rain. These would be rain-wrapped tornadoes, or high precipitation supercells, the technical term we like to use. That there is where this tornado would be located. Again, looking at the debris detection, it's still showing up right in through here. This is our debris we're looking at right there. And that is where we have, again, the potential here for us looking at the threat of maybe likely some damage. Now this is kind of a piney woods area, and this one here is what we're looking at there. Is now kind of it's just immediately outside the viewing area, but will still be working its way on into parts of Livingston Parish. Now back closer to New Orleans, I don't want to forget about us, but our weather's been fairly quiet. You can see here we just have some cloudy skies over the area. Nothing to worry about yet, but this entire line right here, this entire line is moving off to our area, and we'll be moving on in closer to the lunch hour. So that's where we're going to be continuing to see here the threat for some rain and some maybe severe weather across our area as we move forward here throughout the rest of the morning into the early afternoon hours. For those that keep calling me, I'm going to continue severe weather coverage for us until we have these tornado warnings expire. This warning, it does expire at 10:30, the current one we're watching. So we'll be watching that one closely. Also to the south near Houma, you're about to get hit with some strong storms back into the Thibodeau area. This line kind of sneaking through here, potential for some damaging winds. Can't rule out a tornado or two with this, but right now I'm not seeing too much. Possibly maybe a little rotation trying to show up. Well, not right there. Right in through this area here. So we have to keep an eye on that going into Terrebonne Parish. That's right along Highway 90 coming in toward the Houma area. This was the storm that came just south of Morgan City. It is showing a little bit of some rotation there as well too. So need to keep an eye on that one as well. And I'll be doing that for you as we continue watching this one here for possibility maybe dealing with a tornado there. But by far the strongest storm is the one with our tornado. That is right here, and we have that red right next to the blue. That is some very, very strong rotation coming on in now in parts. It looks like it's just about right into Livingston Parish there. This is where we're looking. The reds and the blues kind of circulating right through there. That is where our tornado is. You look at the debris detector, and that is right where that debris is as well too. Now going back here, I'll step it back a little bit. You can see that yellow kind of just as it crossed right over I-10 there. You see this little bit of some yellow showing up in the red. That is our debris, and notice it continues there crossing into Livingston Parish. Tornado may have been weakened right now, but if it has weakened or maybe lifted, there is still very, very strong rotation with this storm. Now the reason why we're focusing on this one, if you follow its current track, it's moving off to the northeast right around say 30 miles per hour. So take the right center there and follow that. Guess where that takes it? Right toward Hammond and Ponchatoula. Hammond and Ponchatoula, you're okay at the moment, but I'm watching you very closely. If this storm's rotation continues to hold true, it's moving over very rural parts of Livingston Parish. It could be headed toward Tangipahoa Parish here in just a little bit, and there it is. Tornado warning just now issued for you in Tangipahoa Parish. This goes till 10:45 this morning. So again, 10:45, that storm, I'm telling you, it has very, very strong rotation with it. We've already have a Doppler radar confirmed tornado with this, the debris being detected by the Doppler radar. The storm again in Livingston Parish right now, but as I just showed you here, it is moving off to the northeast pretty quickly. It's picking up a little speed. Let's update this a little bit to give you better timing. Right in around 40 miles per hour. So this storm is now going to be coming on into part of the North Shore, and again potentially could maintain its intensity here, and we'll go off to the northeast. So that would take it to Hammond. Let's see here. Let's see, Ponchatoula 10:41, Hammond 10:46. So I'm giving you almost a 30-minute heads up. If you're watching us in Tangipahoa Parish, Hammond to Ponchatoula area, back over, it's a little bit farther to the south, right along, say, Interstate 55, US 51. This storm is headed your way. Now, whether or not it continues to produce a tornado, we'll have to wait and see here over the next 30 minutes. But this storm is headed northeast toward the Hammond and Ponchatoula area. Looks like it gets to Ponchatoula around 10:41 in the morning. Hammond area around 10:46 this morning. So we're talking potentially here about a 30-minute heads up. If you're watching us in Hammond and Ponchatoula, this storm is headed in that direction. So we're going to continue watching this one here. You need to take tornado precautions now. That means the lowest level of your home or building, away from windows, interior bathroom or closet. Again, for those that are in those camps, a lot of kids, they're out of school, but they're in camps. There's camp directors and counselors. Keep this in mind. This is a very, very strong supercell thunderstorm wrapped in rain. If there is a tornado, you would not be able to see it. You'll probably be able to hit the wind. It's about to get its Denison, which is in Livingston Livingston Parish, heading toward the Killeen area, and then into Hammond and Ponchatoula with this storm. I cannot stress enough, this potentially already produced one tornado over rural part of Ascension and now into southern part of Livingston Parish. It is heading its way across those areas near Killeen, very rural parts of Livingston Parish, many camps there for hunting camps and whatnot. Maybe some of you do go in that area, not far from Lake Maurepas, but that storm is moving off to the northeast, and right now, if it again holds together, heading toward the Hammond and Ponchatoula area, this should be around 1041 and 1046. Right now, you've got plenty of time. Find your safe place, turn the TV up, get into an interior room or closet. If you have a bike helmet, hey, put it on. Just protect yourself even more. If this storm holds together in its current intensity, this would be a very intense supercell rotating thunderstorm headed toward that part of Tangipahoa Parish as we get toward roughly 10:40 a.m. to about 10:45 a.m. in the Hammond area, moving off to the northeast there, this storm. And again, possible multiple tornadoes with this storm already. So again, still watching this one here. And then, let's see here. We're going to keep a close eye on this one here. Going back to the debris detection with this one, because that kind of gives us there it is. It is, looks like it's intensified, folks. What we're looking at there, you see, there's your tornado right there. That is what we're seeing here on the debris detector. This tornado, again, moving off to the northeast. We'll kind of step back a little bit. It was likely a tornado right here. Whoops. Right into this location here. And I kind of let me move this a little bit and kind of show you its history of it. So we do have a potential. There was a tornado here, not too far away from Sorrento. Step back a little more. Potentially was a tornado right here along St. James Parish area as well. And then we go to its current location right here. This would be a fairly large tornado, folks, I'm afraid to say. This one here, conformed tornado near Whitehall. Let's see, this one is... northeast at 40 still. Radar confirmed tornado. You could actually follow its entire track, how it's made here. That's where the supercell thunderstorm has moved, and then that is exactly where there's a tornado at this time. So this would be a lot of debris we're talking about right there being lofted by the tornado. This one, again, just outside our viewing area, but it is a confirmed tornado, at least by the Doppler radar. It's a very rural area, and this part of Livingston Parish, you'll see here, kind of zooming in. It's right along LA 22, Denson area. If you've got us on antenna, you can watch as the tornado is right over top of you right now. LA 22 heading up toward Magnolia Landing in Killeen. This storm, again, is moving off to the northeast. This is the tornado right here. According to the Doppler radar, that is debris being lofted into the air from a tornado, and that tornado is continuing on its northeastward track right around, say, 40 miles per hour. This is far away from the city of New Orleans. This is the western side of Lake Maurepas, but this is in Livingston Parish. It's really easy to see that. Kind of sticks out like a sore thumb right here. That is your tornado. That tornado continues its way here, heading up toward eventually the Killeen area, possibly into Hammond and Ponchatoula. Again, we're talking about 1040 to 1050. Hammond and Ponchatoula, get ready for this storm. Watching this one very closely here as it works its way off there to the northeast at 40 miles per hour. This would be a confirmed tornado, possibly even a large tornado based off of the debris field I'm seeing right now. Looking at the latest Doppler radar, that storm again moving very fast at 40 miles per hour. Looking at the velocity product with this as well too. That is some incredible strong rotation. I don't think I've seen rotation this strong since we had those supercell thunderstorms going on into part of the New Orleans area. Back the day we had that New Orleans East tornado that not saying we're going to have one in Northeast right now, but nonetheless, though, still pretty impressive here. I don't know if the wall can be hot, guys, but we want to look and see here. This is the storm we're watching very, very closely here at this point. It is very strong rotation, I know, just outside the New Orleans area. And again, we're looking at debris detection here. This is that tornado. I want to show you again that yellow area amongst the red just south of Killeen. And that is what we're looking at, that possibility of a tornado, or likely a tornado now as well, too. Let me kind of reset the radar here and go back and show you what we have. A new tornado warning. This tornado that's the storm we're looking at for possibility of a tornado. It's wrapped in rain. You will not be able to see it. We do have those tornado warnings warnings in effect. This one here goes until 10:45. That is the one we're keeping an eye on here as it moves forward into parts of Livingston Parish and then into or close to the Ponchatoula and Hammond area as well, with this incredible storm that has a very likely large tornado that is in a very rural area of Livingston Parish at this time. And then the storm we're watching here is this one kind of working its way right in through the Killian area at this point, and continuing to work its way on into parts of potentially the Tangipahoa Parish there, and eventually on into the Ponchatoula area as well. So if you're watching us in Ponchatoula, we're keeping a very close eye on this storm as it continues to move very, very, very close to where your location is at this point. So that's where we're watching right there. That's the tornado. That's the debris from the tornado we're watching as well too. Looks like the debris may be kind of dissipating a little bit, but this tornado has been kind of cycling, meaning it's going through multiple phases with that, and that's allowing it to get multiple tornadoes likely from the same thunderstorm itself. And as we see here, again, let me go ahead and show you what we're talking about. I'm going to go over to the chroma key wall here and show you what we guys have. You can see I-55 right now. We'll be watching that closely as we get closer to the potential for this one here. But there is the storm we're watching here is just south of Killian at this point. This is the storm we're keeping an eye on here. It's moving off to the northeast, and as it does, it is potentially producing a tornado across that area. And as we go forward here, heading on into the rest of the morning hours here, potentially could head its way up there right along parts of southern Livingston Parish, heading eventually toward the Ponchatoula area. This is the rotation I have showing here. When you have the reds and the blues, you have really strong winds with this, potentially maybe 100-mile-per-hour winds or maybe a little stronger with that. That is going to be going toward Killian, heading over toward Springfield, and eventually on in toward the Ponchatoula area. Where is the tornado? Well, this is what we're looking at here. This is called debris detection, and that is right in through here. This is where the tornado is located. Again, far away from the New Orleans area, so we're fine here, but we're watching this because it's going to be working its way across Livingston Parish and then into southern part of Tangipahoa Parish as we move forward here, going on into the next, say, 30-45 minutes or so. So by 10:45, should be getting closer to the Ponchatoula area as we move on in, and as that continues, that's tracked that way, potentially producing a tornado in Tangipahoa Parish. It already has a history of producing a tornado. It has very strong rotation with it right here, and that's where, again, we are still seeing, again, the rotation continuing to work its way through the area at this hour. As you can see here, let me take that little circle off there since its storm is moving, but nonetheless, though, you can see here again where that is. When you have those reds and you have that bluish shade kind of coming together, blue and greens, that means the red is going away from the radar, blue is going toward the radar. And then you have some strong rotation right in through that area there. So this is where we're looking right in the middle there, where that tornado is going to be, and that is where we are going to potentially have to deal with that. Now, you're not seeing a typical hook echo with this because it's wrapped in rain. If there is a tornado, you likely will not be able to see it, but again, it's moving closer and closer to the parts of Tangipahoa Parish and in toward the Livingston, kind of eastern part of Livingston Parish at this time, with that tornado warning in effect there until 10:45. Now, behind it, we do have another storm we're keeping an eye on. Some of these storms that were coming out earlier, but looks like that one expires at 10:30, but that storm has moved out of the area. We also have a couple other storms don't want to forget about across the region. Down to the south, you got in Houma. We do have, again, severe thunderstorm warning for you until 10:45 across your area there. That's for line of storms coming into Houma right now. Metro area is looking good. Mandeville, Slidell area looking good, but it's the storm coming out of Livingston Parish. That storm has the potential here for bringing it. Has had a history of producing a tornado, at least confirmed by Doppler radar. Let's see, Pankerville reporting, let's see, emergency manager reported tornado damaged power lines and caused minor structural damage. This is now in Pankerville for those listening in. Let's see, it approached. Let's see, Livingston storm. We're going to go back to that one since we do again have likely a tornado with this one here. Let me take that circulation off. Looks like the storm is getting a little bit stronger with this one as well too. Let's see here. Law enforcement reported tornadoes 6 miles north of Convent that produced downed trees and power lines. That was the first part of this storm when it was down in St. James Parish as well as on into Ascension Parish. That storm getting debris reports there at this time as well too. This is that storm. This is the rotation we're watching very closely coming into Killian. For those that might be able to pick us up in Killian, you need to take shelter immediately with this storm here as well too. Likely this rotation, if it holds together, could approach I-55 between Ponchatoula and the Acres area. They're right around, say, let's see, 10:35, so about 10 to 20 minutes coming on into that area of Interstate 55. So we'll be watching that. We do have some traffic cameras there. We'll be able to keep an eye on the storm as it moves on into that area too. But that's the storm there. You can see here looking at debris. It seems to be kind of maybe the debris is scattered, but what we'll be watching is see how it was really intense there as a big circle. And then it kind of worked its way on into what it is now. So kind of looping this here for you, you'll be able to see how the debris kind of worked its way through the area and then eventually came on into parts of where it is just south of the Killian area. It's likely this was something potentially tornado with it, but this point may have briefly kind of weakened. Sometimes supercell thunderstorms do that, and they call what's going through is gone through a cycle, and then that's kind of what we are seeing with this as well too. Let's see here. It continues the tornado warning till 10:45. Again, let's see here for tornado warning for St. John the Baptist. Those areas are cleared because the storm has moved out of that area. Still continued tornado warning for southeastern Livingston, southwest Tangipahoa Parish, moving northeast at 40 miles per hour. Possibly, again, we're still watching that area. So I want to show you again where this potential tornado is, throwing on the tracker here for you. And again, it would take it off to the northeast there, close to the Ponchatoula area, Sharkey area around 10:43 to 10:47 with this tornado. So again, that's kind of what we're looking at here. Right now you can see I-10, 55 near Acres is the traffic camera you're looking at. This is kind of where we're looking for the potential for this tornado to move through this area. So be watching this one very closely here to see if potentially we could see this storm moving on in, and as it does, continuing to watch it to see if maybe we could catch that, see where it's doing. Fortunately, that area is fairly rural area, but nonetheless, though, that's kind of where we're looking. Let's go back to the wall, if you don't mind, and we can show you that here we have, again, that storm. Looks like the debris may have kind of, if you will, has fallen down to the ground. I hate to say that, but that's kind of what's going on here with the storm as it continues to move through the region here. Again, still looking at Ponchatoula potentially here around 10:47. Folks, you have 20 minutes. Get in your tornado shelter. I'm giving you a significant amount of lead time with this one here as it moves on in. It does have the potential to try to redevelop into a new tornado with this one. Right now, looks like the debris detection not quite as impressive as it once was. You'll see here kind of looping it where it was moving on into the area. That's what we did have, again, significant right there. You saw the bright yellow kind of combing on in. That was the tornado. May have kind of lifted a little bit, kind of what does recycling is called, and then that's where, again, potentially could try to develop into a new tornado. This is a fairly strong storm out there. You'll see here, again, the rotation, very impressive here. I just want to kind of show you what we're looking at. Here, again, there's Killian. There's a strong rotation with this counterclockwise circulation. Red's away from the radar, green is toward the radar. When this circulates around like that and is strong of a rotation as we're being picked up on the Doppler radar, that means this is likely continuing to try to redevelop. If it continues on this track to the northeast, we'll be clipping Springfield toward Pumpkin Center, heading toward the Ponchatoula area right along US 51 or Interstate 55, potentially toward Hammond area as well too. So we need to keep a very close eye on this. I know it's just outside the area, and here in New Orleans things are just fine, high and dry, but this whole line of storms is heading our way. But this storm has had a confirmed tornado with it for almost the last hour, and as it continues on that northeastward track, starting to impact some of us. I know you have family and friends that live in the North Shore. Call them, let them know, hey, by the way, Dave just said there's a possible tornado coming toward the Ponchatoula area, Acres, and Hammond area. You need to seek shelter now. Lowest level of your room, in the interior room and closet. If you have a bike helmet, hey, put it on too. Just protects your head, again, if there's a tornado coming on into the area. Right now, it's over top of Killian. It's a small little town there along LA LA-22. LA-22 runs up towards Springfield and kind of curves its way up toward eventually the Ponchatoula area, and then of course on in toward Madisonville. So we're watching, if you live along the LA-22 corridor here outside of Ponchatoula into Livingston Parish, this is what we're watching, this storm. That is a rotating thunderstorm. It's been a strong thunderstorm, continuing to show very impressive rotation with it, and has had a history of producing tornadoes. We already have reports of damage across not too far from the Convent area, not too far from the Sunshine Bridge, along LA-70 and LA-22 across that part of the area. And this has had a history of damage across over Interstate 10, right by Airline Highway, right near the Sorrento area, and has produced possibly a tornado across Livingston Parish here. Fortunately, it's a very rural area. A lot of trees are probably down with this one, and that's why we had a lot of that debris. The debris was lifted into the air, and that's where we've seen, again, the radar showing that. Now, here's the latest radar. You don't see your typical hook echo. It's wrapped in rain, folks. You're not going to be able to see this tornado. If there's a tornado, you won't be able to see it. It's going to be wrapped in this mess of rain as it heads toward the Ponchatoula area. You're probably already hearing the thunder, seeing the rain in Ponchatoula. This storm is heading right to that direction. Ponchatoula, the Acres area, which is just south of Ponchatoula, right by, not too far away from where Lake Maurepas, and over toward further to the south there. That's what we do have, again, that area right Interstate 55 is what I'm trying to say there. So the storm would be kind of wrapped in this, and that's kind of what we're watching here, kind of moving. You can see even the storm kind of itself looks like it's rotating. That is heading off to the northeast at 40 miles per hour. So Ponchatoula, we're looking here between 10:40 and around 10:45 time frame is when the storm could be heading up to your area, toward the Acres area. And again, that's where you have that tornado warning in effect till 10:45. Severe thunderstorm warning behind it for all the other storms have been watching as well too, and these continue to kind of work their way through the area. By the way, Homa, strong storms, gusty winds with these storms coming on into your area, stretching farther way back to the south, heading toward Raceland. This eventually will be heading into the metro New Orleans area as well. You can see that line of storms there kind of working its way through the region now, and as this continues moving closer and closer to us, we'll start feeling some of the impacts. Whether or not we have tornadoes, we'll have to wait and see how the environment fares out. But right now, that storm there off to the north in Livingston Parish is the one that definitely has the most potential to do something. But this one here, again, if you're watching us in Homa, gusty winds, heavy rain, street flooding likely with these storms as they're coming on in as well too. Morgan City area is in the clear now. Thibodaux is still dealing with the storms now, but they're going to continue working their way closer to you. Here again is that storm we're watching in southern Livingston Parish with that tornado warning until 10:45 this morning. So it does go for another about 13 minutes. As you'll see, again, that's the storm we're keeping an eye on here as it heads toward closer and closer toward Ponchatoula at this point, and then eventually seeing some strong rotation. May not be as strong as it once was, at least at the moment. Not seeing those blues showing up here, but again, you have that pretty good. This is, I mean, this is, when you're looking for a tornado on radar, this is what you're looking for. There's reds right next to those greens, and the storm may be going through what's called a cycle. Sometimes the storm cannot maintain its intensity for an extended period of time, kind of like a strong hurricane, if you will, and then it has to kind of weaken a little bit, and then it can get stronger. That's what this thunderstorm is doing too. Obviously a much smaller scale compared to a hurricane, but nonetheless though, that's where our rotation is, just crossing through Killeen. This is LA-22 from Killeen right back up toward the Springfield area. Then LA-22 kind of makes a dog leg here over toward Ponchatoula, and it's right in that area there from Ponchatoula back down toward Acres, where Lake Maurepas is there. That's where we are looking for this storm to potentially move through. If you remember back in when we had the New Orleans East that day, we had those big tornadoes. Well, we did have a big tornado. It was a mile-wide tornado here across Livingston Parish. Fortunately, it was in a rural area, kind of like this one here, so it did some damage. Yeah, we do have the reports, as mentioned earlier, in Ascension Parish near Sorrento, also into St. James Parish near Convent over by the Sunshine Bridge. For those that may be plant workers that work toward Donaldsonville, you may have some issues there. Down trees and power lines reported from what likely was a tornado there, just based off of what I've seen on the radar. Storm is now closing in on the Springfield area. You can see just based off of the rotation. Looking here at the debris detection, not seeing quite as much. There's still maybe a little bit of debris lofted in the air, falling from the sky, if you will. But as we go back in time here, you'll see here again that debris was actually kind of started way back here, that yellow dot, and then it's kind of weakened a little bit. So it looks like the storm may be doing a little bit of a cycle here. It's still rotating as it gets toward the Killeen area, and it's still rotating eventually as it gets closer to the Livingston, Tangipahoa Parish line. Springfield area, back over toward Pumpkin Center, watching those areas very closely here, that storm as it continues to move in. Behind it, that was some of the old storms we had here as well too. Just trying to get back to what we're seeing earlier. And we do have, again, that line of storms coming across the region. And as it moves on in, that's the storms we're continuing to watch here. But this is the one we'll be watching here. That rotation tied in with that storm, not as intense as it once was. That's some good news, but I need to continue to watch this because it could try to get stronger again. And it's moving into an area here that's more populated. Killeen, Springfield, LA-22. LA-22 turns toward Ponchatoula area here. Eventually I-12, Highway 190, back into Hammond, Pumpkin Center area, Albany. It's Albany area, all of this area, watching closely as this storm moves into that area. If not a tornado, still could potentially produce some damaging winds with it and very, very heavy rain tied in with this storm here. Again, looking at the radar, you can see some of the heavy rain tied in with this too. Now that's moving into Ponchatoula in the Hammond area right along Interstate 55 at this time here, and still bringing some pretty good downpours to those regions. If you're trying to travel up 55 from Laplace, wait. Don't go anywhere. Do not want to run into this. You would not be able to see the tornado. If you're trying to leave Ponchatoula or those areas, trying to get away from it, that's not the best thing to do right now. You're not going to be able to see the tornado. It will be wrapped in rain as it works its way here near the Killeen area. So again, just outside our viewing area, but it is going to be impacting our viewing area here in a few minutes once it crosses over the Parish line. This is the Tickfaw River kind of curving right through. It's almost about at the Tickfaw River as the storm continues moving off toward closer and closer to Ponchatoula. That tornado warning in effect here until 10:45. It's 10:35 our current time now. You want to be in your safe place out there. You want to be in the lowest level of your room, an interior room, bathroom, or closet, away from windows. That's the best thing you can do. You can stay, again, low as you can. Protect yourself from flying debris. If you have bike helmets, put the bike helmet on. Protects your head when you're riding a bike. It'll do the same thing if there's a possibility of a tornado heading your way as well, too. So you want to go check that out. Again, stay away from the windows there, and still be watching this closely. This is going to be moving closer and closer to the I-55 corridor between Ponchatoula and also the Acres area as well, too. Let's see, getting a report, see here. Yes, we ought to have possibility, let me see here. If you have any videos that you've seen the tornado, let us know. Potentially there's some out there as well across the area too. But still watching this one here closely as we move forward here with the storm. Let me move the radar up here a little bit and just kind of see what we have going on here. Again, not really seeing much debris right now with it. That is some good news, folks. That means the storm is not necessarily producing a tornado at the moment, but potentially still could produce a tornado. There is our rotation. Whoops, let me clear this off here. Working its way on in toward Killeen and Springfield. Heading on in toward Ponchatoula. Where, Dave? Where's this tornado? Where's this potential rotation? Right through here, right over top of the Springfield area now, too. So still watching this one as well as we go forward here, going on in. So that's the area we're watching very closely here for potentially with some rotation coming out of the Killeen area and working its way even towards Springfield, right along LA-22 and that area. And then again, looking at the debris detection, not seeing anything showing up at the moment, which is good, but we did earlier. Just want to kind of show you back to what it was. We did have some debris earlier kind of showing on in. Zoom out a little bit and you'll see here we had that bright yellow ball right there. That is where the tornado was. This was earlier at around 10:15. You follow that where it currently is, and we don't have anything showing up now, which is good news. That just means, again, maybe the potential for the tornado has dissipated, at least at this point, which is good as well, too. Right now, though, we're still looking at the latest here with this rotation and the storm continuing to produce a possibility of a tornado, and we'll continue watching this one here for you as well too. But just trying to get back to what we're watching, that storm there. Eric, do you have some updates for us?
Yeah, let's talk about some of the stuff that was done in Ascension Parish. Right now we have Martin McConnell on the phone with Ascension Parish. And how much damage have you guys had up there? Do you have reports of any?
Well, we do have reports of some severe weather that went through the northern part of our parish in the Galvez community. We have some trees down. We have some light to moderate damage to homes, but happily we have no injuries anywhere to report.
Has anyone reported a tornado or tornadic activity in Ascension?
All I can tell you, sir, is that we have had some very severe weather. Whether or not it was a tornado has not been confirmed.
And how much rain have you all taken up there, and have you had any reports of any flooding?
Well, there's certainly street flooding and surface flooding. We've had several inches of rain that's been reported. I'm looking at perhaps 4 to 5 inches of rain have gone through up here. So far, we have not had any reports of any water in any homes. I haven't received any reports on that yet.
And right now, do you have people without power or things like that?
Haven't received a report on that. We still have people out there clearing streets from down trees and so forth. So I'm not sure if there's any power out yet in the community.
How many streets do you have blocked off right now, Martin?
To my knowledge, there are none. We're clearing everything.
Okay, so you've been able to clear that. So
yes, sir. I think we have been Ascension so far has been very fortunate.
I was going to just say that. Yeah, you guys have been very fortunate. They had a lot of flooding up in Baton Rouge. We're going to get to that in a couple of minutes. If we have the video,
there's street flooding and surface flooding, but we have not had reports of water in anyone's homes yet.
Okay, well that is good news.
We're still tabulating information.
All right, well keep us posted on that, Martin. We appreciate that.
You bet. Sure will.
All right.
Take care.
And now we do have some video of a reported tornado in Convent. Let's go to that right now, if we can get that video up. Dave has been tracking tornadic activity all morning long. That's why we're staying on the air. You can see this video here. He had mentioned because of the heavy rainstorm, you might not be able to see it, but you can see what appears to be a funnel cloud there.
That's fairly large.
In Convent, it is fairly large,
fairly
Dave.
large tornado.
And you were saying this is very strong tornadic activity you're seeing.
It is, and now there's a new tornado warning, Eric, just coming out now. This one down to the south. We're talking here across part of the area here. This one is for St. John the Baptist, southwestern St. John the Baptist Parish, southeastern St. James Parish, and northwestern Lafourche Parish until 11 a.m. Possibly tornado right near the Thibodaux area, kind of just beyond that right now. Looking at the latest rotation, here's what we're talking about, folks. Another area we're keeping an eye on, this one closer to home. This one right in through here. We do have some strong rotation over a rural part of Lafourche Parish, north of the Raceland area, north of Highway 90. That potentially could be a tornado trying to form. Not seeing anything on the debris detection right now, which is good news, but definitely going to be watching this one closely. This one here has just passed the Thibodaux area, now in northern Lafourche Parish. We are seeing, again, this is the rotation we're watching right in through here with the potential tornado. It is moving there off to the northeast, just like all the other ones are, fairly quickly at 40 miles per hour. So tracking this one here to the northeast, and it would take us over toward Paradis around 11:03, Luling at 11:11, St. Rose, again, if it holds together around 11:15, and Kenner, if it really holds together that far, right around 11:24. So that'd be really getting into the metro area with that storm. So definitely going to be keeping a close watch on that one now. That's our new storm we're watching. The other one still watching, closing in Springfield. Good news, it's not showing as strong of intensity as it works its way through Springfield. However, you can't put your guard down. The storm could cycle through and become a little bit stronger. It's about to cross the, coming close to the Interstate 55 corridor there, but not really seeing too much at this time, which at least is some good news with it. Still kind of working its way off there from the southeast to the, or southwest to the northeast, closing in on Ponchatoula. Again, stopping the radar. It's just about over the I-50, close to I-55 Springfield area. Some of the stronger rotation there kind of just beyond that, just kind of off to the west of Springfield right now, or east of Ponchatoula, Springfield area is where we're watching with that storm. So this would be some good news if this one finally weakens. So we don't want it to be a tornado in Tangipahoa Parish, but nonetheless, though, watching that one very closely for us as well. We do have a severe thunderstorm warning now that encompasses that area for the storms too, as we do have, again, the new severe thunderstorm warning kind of popping up there as well. You can see here across the area, that is that yellow box you see there, kind of a fairly large box. Let me zoom out a little more so you can see it. It does include part of St. Tammany Parish there, southern part of Tangipahoa Parish, as well as down to St. John Parish as well too. But looking at that storm, kind of more concerned about the storm now coming closer to home into our neck of the woods. That would be this storm coming out of the Thibodaux area. Thibodaux, you're in the clear, not in the Schriever, you're fine too, but des Allemands area, need to watch this one as well. The rotation fairly strong with this one as well. You can see this is where we're looking right in through here, and continues to be pretty impressive. Moving the tracker with this one here. The storm, as it continues to move off to the northeast, kind of maybe just clipping des Allemands area. Paradis, Luling potentially could be impacted by this St. Rose around 11:15, and if it does hold together up near Kenner by 11:23 time frame. So that's the one to be watching closely there. At this point, not seeing any debris showing up. That's some good news, but definitely be watching that one fairly closely. Also, that storm coming out of Springfield toward Ponchatoula in the Hammond area, not picking up any debris on that one. one now, which is also some great news to report there with that one. But still keeping an eye on this one here to the south. I'll be watching that to see if the storm does want to try to produce maybe some debris or damage. This is kind of where we're looking here. Let me move up the cone. It's moved up a little bit here for you. But nonetheless, though, we're still watching, again, Luling around 11:10. If it holds together, parity area, you're kind of right in the mix of that as well, too. Let me go back over and show you here. That's the original storm near Springfield. We were watching rotation not as strong. You don't see those bluer shades like you do with this storm down to the south here, just north of Raceland. If you're in the Raceland area, the storm is north of you. You're okay with that one, but Desalman's Luling area need to be really into your secure area with this one. And below... again, as low as level as you can get. You can't really go below ground here. You're in the water if you do that. But nonetheless, though, watching this one here, that is the storm, a tornado warning to 11 o'clock this morning with that one as it continues on its track here off to the northeast fairly quickly, right around, say, 40 miles per hour. But this by far is the strongest storm right now out there, and it continues to be what we're watching here very closely for us as the storm continues to come closer toward the Desalmans area. Right in this location, we'll show you the rotation here. You got the blues now showing up. That's how strong the winds are. These are 60, 70 mile an hour winds right next to winds going a different direction, potentially around 30 mile per hour winds. So that is where we are looking for this. This storm is moving off to the northeast, possibly just clipping Desalman's area, heading over eventually toward the Luling area, and if it holds together, maybe into Metro New Orleans. So I need to watch this one pretty closely for you. Storms look like this earlier. They all produced tornadoes. Not saying this one will, but just the environment is the same, and that's why we're looking at the potential here for maybe a few tornadoes to form across the area here with this one. So going to be watching that one closely. Again, looking at that Luling around 11:10 a.m., St. Rose 11:14 if it holds together that far, maybe Kenner around 11:23 at this point. Not seeing any debris showing up here. If we see a bright little pop of yellow across right where that rotation is centered, so you want to be right here. You can see that's where the rotation is, so you would try to find debris in that same area. We don't see any. That's good news. That's what we want to see. No tornado. But if there is, we'll start seeing that as some of the radar sweeps coming through. So I'll keep checking back with this one. Other storms look very similar to this on the rotation, and they did produce tornadoes. That one that crossed near the Sunshine Bridge, right along LA 70, LA 22 there, across part of northern St. James near Convent, heading over to parts of Southern Ascension Parish near Sorrento, crossing over the interstate, and multiple tornadoes with that one as it went points to the north. Beyond that, you can see again the storm is pretty intense. If it doesn't have a tornado, likely very heavy rain, street flooding, maybe rainfall rates 2 to 3 inches per hour with this one, as well as dealing with strong damaging winds with this. So if there's not a tornado, you may have the winds with that one as well too. Looking at that storm here right near Springfield area. This is LA 22 here, Ponchatoula, and again showing that, I don't necessarily want to say that is any kind of debris because it doesn't quite line up perfectly, but it's pretty close. I need to watch that one for maybe a possible tornado to form with this one here. This will be spreading its way across the interstate and heading toward Hammond and Ponchatoula. Going back here again, that's that rotation we're watching right there. So maybe something try to form there. I don't want to. You can't need one more scan to confirm if this truly is to possibly have a new tornado trying to form, lofting that debris into the air. But we're watching this one closely. It looks like this one may be passing just off there to the north of Ponchatoula, maybe heading closer to the Hammond area. Whoops, as we go forward here, that's what we'll be watching that rotation with that as well too. There again, this is the storm. The radar's kind of different behind, but nonetheless though, we'll continue watching this storm here as it moves forward into that location here. So need to keep an eye on this one too. If you're still watching us, Hammond, Ponchatoula, you need to stay in your safe place with that one too. Again, potentially here for maybe a tornado to try to reform. Right now, I'm not seeing anything, but definitely worth watching. Eric, you have an update for us?
Yeah, we told you about that tornado in Convent. We showed you some pictures of it earlier. We have better video of it now. This is a view we're seeing right now from one of our viewers, and you can see it is a mess out there. And Dave was talking about how big and strong these tornadoes were that have moved through the area, and this is just one. And Dave, we don't know if it's been a number or one tornado or one just hop, skipping, and jumping.
I think this one's been the same supercell, dropping multiple tornadoes with the same storm. I don't want to say it's continuous just based off of what I've seen, but I'm not sure where this is.
This is Convent.
This is Convent area, so yeah. So that would have been about where it began. that looks like that's the River Rose. It looks like it's the levee to the right, and then it crossed over the river and then came on in, did damage. That's clearly, it looks like it got debris flying around. There's flash of a power line right there as well too. This would be what I would consider a confirmed tornado. Doppler radar confirmed that. This video is doing the same as well too. Steve Caparata, a meteorologist up in the Baton Rouge area, got that from a viewer, and that's what we're sharing right now. But we're still watching this, again, a very impressive video of that tornado coming through that area this hour. And that was about maybe an hour or so ago when that came through. And the same one produced its way all the way into Livingston Parish. Now the same supercell thunderstorm kind of working its way up toward the Ponchatoula area. Looks like the storm is a lot weaker than it once was, so that's at least some good news with that storm there. But you can see very impressive there, again, with that tornado. You can see it's pouring down rain too. So other than the fact that this driver really lucked out and did not get hit by that storm, probably because you couldn't even see it with the levee, the Mississippi River there, right there on the right-hand side.
And Dave, one of the things you mentioned earlier, these are not very heavily populated areas, which is a good thing. I mean, for anybody who's in the path of this thing, it's horrible. But if this had come through a densely populated area, we could have been in for a lot of trouble.
Exactly. And fortunately, we do have some rural areas. We have some very urban areas in town. And at least at this point, the storms seem to be kind of missing the urban areas, which is some great news. We don't want them to head into our area at all, but we need to watch them, and because they could eventually work their way on into some of the more urban areas. And right now, though, the one storm mainly we're watching, and not that one so much anymore. It seems like that storm itself has really kind of weakened, which is some good news. It's still a severe thunderstorm. The tornado warning for that original storm as it moved its way northward has actually expired, and we are looking at just a severe thunderstorm warning for Hammond and Ponchatoula now. So right now, for the Hammond and Ponchatoula area, your severe tornado threat has ended. If you were in your safe place, you just don't want to go too far from it, but you can get out of your safe place now. The storm's still showing some weaker rotation at this point, but nonetheless, though, still looking at potentially here maybe possible tornado with that. So if there is something there, it would be working its way right along I-55 now near the Hammond area. That's kind of where the rotation is with this storm. So not sure if we can see if I can look at the traffic cameras here while you're looking at the rotation. Heavy rain continues to fall in that area.
While you look for that, we do want to tell viewers, especially when you see that what looked like a tornado in Convent going across that road there, this is why we stay on, because this is dangerous. This is a life and death matter.
It really is. You know, it's just you can't see these tornadoes. Tornadoes we have here, it's rare you can actually see them. The reason why is because we do have again these storms really just kind of producing rain-wrapped tornadoes. So when they're wrapped in rain, they're very, very hard to see, which is never good. If you have anything like that, you can just be dealing with, again, what we're looking at is just a tornado wrapped in rain. You can't see that, and that is just doesn't bode well if you're trying to do anything. You can see here, while we're talking here, just trying to pull up maybe a shot of what we can see potentially what's going on in the interstate area here. But right now, Eric, you have a reporter, Erica Ferrando.
Yeah, Erica Ferrando is on the phone, and let's get over to her. And Erica, where are you right now?
Hey, y'all. So right now I think we're actually right about in Hammond. We're on I-12 right now, heading westbound, so we're heading towards I-55, and it's definitely coming down pretty hard right now. I'd say we're driving about 55 miles an hour, and we've seen quite a few cars have to pull off the road. It probably just got pretty heavy once we got into about Robert, and then it really started coming down. Obviously, it's not great visibility. We're driving pretty slow and definitely watching out for it. It's actually getting a little bit worse now. But we have seen a few cars pull off the road. I guess they didn't feel safe. We saw a few people with their flashers on. Luckily, there's not too much traffic. I think a lot of people are avoiding getting on the road right now, which is definitely a good idea to avoid driving on I-12 if you don't have to get out. But we just definitely wanted to give you a look just so you all watching know kind of what the conditions are like, so you know to avoid driving out if you can. But I mean, we've been staying safe. We have not seen any accidents. Luckily, we actually came over the causeway. It wasn't raining at that point, just very cloudy, and it didn't really start coming down until we got until like Mandeville, and then it really got heavy towards Robert now in Hammond. So we're just passing the Hammond-Ponchatoula exit. So anyway, that's kind of what we're seeing right now.
And fortunately, the tornado warning for that area has ended, which is good news for them. I mean, we saw that tornado we showed you earlier going across the river in Convent, and it was horrific to watch. But you haven't seen anything like that.
Right. I mean, thankfully, we have not seen anything like that. I mean, we're definitely keeping a watch on everything so that we don't put ourselves in danger either. But we did want to make sure everyone got a chance to see what it does look like out in this area, and that's why we came out here to give you all a look.
And has the rain gotten worse as you progress toward Hammond?
Definitely. It definitely started coming down more towards Robert, and then once we got into Hammond, Ponchatoula, came down even more. At one point, we were probably driving around 40 miles an hour on the interstate. Everyone was going pretty slow, and the visibility actually now I think is a little bit better than it was
does look that.
10 minutes ago. So we can see, I mean, it's just a lot of heavy rain. I wouldn't say it's too windy, which is good. Just seems like a lot of heavy rain.
All right. Well, thank you, Erica. We appreciate that. And Dave, this has been a very strong storm system. We had flooding in Baton Rouge. We had a dramatic car rescue there by some firemen up in Baton Rouge. I don't know if we have that video ready, but we would like to show some of the drama that unfolded this morning in Baton Rouge. A woman in a car. Woman was in a car this morning. As you saw, there was a lot of street flooding in Baton Rouge. There you have it right there. You can see the guys in the red shirts.
Oh, wow.
These are firemen. They're pulling a woman out of a car. It got kind of swept away in the high water. There's one of the firemen going in after it. You can see the water is pushing the car away, and the firemen bravely going in there after trying to rescue that woman who was trapped inside that car. That in Baton Rouge, as we said. This is from our affiliate there, WBRZ. And you can see what a dangerous situation. We've seen that all too often. Fortunately, that car was still floating, so they were able to get that woman out okay. And that's the good news. But some of the drama unfolding from this heavy weather we're seeing today, and a lot of flooding up in Baton Rouge. And, you know, they have gone through so many times of flooding. It's the last thing they want to see. There's still a lot of people still, you know, recovering from the last time it flooded.
Yeah, they really are. And, you know, just like up there, down here, you 2, 3, 4 inches of rain in 30 minutes to an hour, you're going to get flooding. I've seen so many pictures up there. Of course, I've lived up there for 10 years before coming down here, know the area really well at BRZ. And those areas are just inundated with rain and heavy water. Those areas that typically flood, and then many more other neighborhoods dealing with that. And then you throw the tornadoes on top of that.
Yeah.
And that's just incredible. This is incredible video here.
Well, and Dave, when we see video like this, and you were saying, you know, several inches of rain will flood in Baton Rouge like it does here. This seems more like 10 or 11 inches of rain here.
Yeah, I mean, so I'm trying to see exactly where this is, just looking at the background of where this location is for this. But you can see this the flow of water. I mean, it looks like a normal street. Look at that.
Well, and you can see one of the firefighters banging on the window, trying to get it open and get through to this woman to get her out safely. And as we said, fortunately, they were able to get her out okay. But we have seen all too many times that people have died in situations like this.
Yeah, and so, I mean, that's why when you ever see flooded water, down here we don't have many dips in the road. But
you can see the car sinking right here.
Right, and so there are, Baton Rouge, for those who are familiar with it, you have more terrain up there. There are a few more hills and more dips that go underneath our railroad tracks. They're on Blue Bonnet Boulevard, on Acadian Thruway, on 110 as you go toward the state capitol. Those fill up with water anytime it rains, just because they're low spots. But a lot of neighborhoods are filling up with water now, and areas that are, you know, that when you get that much rain are going to be dealing with that. Now, back closer to home here, we're still watching these storms, showing a little bit some rotation coming out of part of, say, northeastern St. John the Baptist Parish. Still watching that one. A produced possible tornado. Again, it was 11 miles north of La Place area here. Again, that one goes until... still watching that storm. This was for this storm actually right here. That's kind of what we're looking at. This one's likely some water spouts now, Eric, what we're keeping an eye on. That's a little tiny tornado warning right here. So if you watch this from the Rudock area back toward Galva, heading towards Strader, that is the area we're keeping an eye on now with this one. Been likely some water spouts, whatever. There was a tornado with that one. It's kind of worked its way across Interstate 55 now and is headed toward the Acres area. Acres just off there to the rural parts of those areas there near Galva. This one's kind of a southern part of the original storm that was working its way north near Ponchatoula. That's this storm here. You can see here, kind of slowing this back down for you. That one, again, a tornado warning. Potentially here, maybe a hook that was trying to form right in through that area there. Again, tornado warning till 11:15. This one goes for those 16 minutes. This one here just recently popping up. Watching that one, likely some water spouts now with this storm as it continues to kind of move its way on into parts of between Lake Maurepas, Lake Pontchartrain area. Looking at the latest rotation with it, it does have rotation. We are looking at this area right here. As for debris detection with this one, probably hard to see much with it, but only because it's a very wooded area. It may have been right, I'm not sure if it lines up correctly, but it could possibly have had something. Let's see, around 10:50 during that time frame. Kind of going back here, zip this back a little bit to 10:50 and see what we have. Possibly, maybe right there. It was a fairly strong rotation showing up here. Again, rural parts north of Rudock area, kind of where then worked its way kind of toward the Galva area. Still seeing the rotation tied in with it right there as well. So that part of Interstate 55, we'll be watching that one here. Maybe it's a water spout kind of tied in with that as well too. Again, looking at to see if there's any kind of debris tied in with it. Kind of hard, not really anything showing up at this point, but we'll watch that one nonetheless, though, to see if it does try to possibly produce something. As you know, for many of you traveling, those areas of the interstate have a lot of trees, but there's definitely some rotation tied in right here near the Galva area on Interstate 55. Looking at the radar, that'd be underneath all the rains. You wouldn't be able to see it anyway. But for those areas coming up from Rudock, now's not the time to travel from Laplace to the Ponchatoula Hammond area on I-55. New tornado warning just coming out for that one. Looks like, or maybe that's, let's see here, let me zoom out a little bit. That's just popping in now. Looks like this one's for southern part of Tangipahoa Parish, just continuing that. There is strong rotation. It's small, but it's definitely strong rotation, possibly producing a tornado that'd be at sea about, 10 miles south of Ponchatoula and moving northeast to 25. So that is the storm we're keeping an eye on right here. You see that rotation showing up with that. Not as impressive as the other storms have been, but nonetheless, it still can produce a tornado. It is moving off to the northeast a little bit slower. This one now at 25 miles per hour, but likely over some wet area there. If it holds together, may get up toward the Lee's Landing at around 11:26. But this is just on top of the Interstate 55 there corridor right now, and seen some heavy downpours there, but at this point, not really seeing too much out there now. Even some of the Interstate 55 cameras I've been looking at, most of them showing some heavy rain falling near the Manchac area, but overall, though, not seeing a ton. Can't see too much there. It's just a lot of heavy rain falling for those, at least at this point. Here's the Manchac camera I'm watching right now, and if there is something, that's kind of where we would be watching it potentially would be this camera is kind of pointing off there toward the Manchac itself. So we'll have to keep an eye on this one. Eric?
Yeah, and Dave, one of our reporters, Erica Ferrando, just drove through that area. She said the rain got pretty heavy if she was going through around, past Robert and then up 55. It kind of slackened off when she got around the Hammond exit. But we do have Francis Hemel on the phone right now from St. James Parish, and you all had that tornado go through in Convent. Do you have reports of any damage?
Hey, good morning, Eric. We do have some minor damage. We have 3 sheds that are damaged and 1 house with some roof damage. But other than that, trees, limbs, that type of thing, I do have a crew on the scene now assessing damage. But as far as injuries, none. It was kind of scary there for a minute because the 2016 tornado that we had, this incident was just north of that area, so we can finally breathe a sigh of relief.
Well, right now, Francis, we're watching a video taken by someone in Baton Rouge, and you can see that tornado just cross right over the river road when it goes over the river, and I mean, it looks like a strong one. Yes,
sir, it was, and we have everybody assessing damage right now, and it looks like it was a lot worse than what it actually was, and just keeping our fingers crossed we don't find anything further.
And that's not a heavily populated area, but there are people there.
Yes, so there is.
And so have you? What kind of calls have you guys been getting so far?
Mostly power lines and also trees. There are a lot of houses along the river road, but like you said, it's not too populated. But at the same time, the trees and the power lines are going to be the biggest issues we have for right now.
Yeah, and when we watch that video, it looks like a fairly large tornado roaring through as we watch it go again.
But it was such a narrow path, if you will,
yeah,
that it didn't have a line of destruction like we had in 2016.
Okay, well that's good. That's good to know. But keep us abreast of what's going on in St. James. Will
do. Thank you.
All right, appreciate that. And Dave, are we going to miss here on the South Shore the really brunt of these storms, or are we in for the same thing?
We potentially could be in for the same thing. I mean, that's definitely something we'll be watching very closely as we move forward here on into let's see, lunch hour here. Right now, again, still watching the storm here as it continues to work its way across parts of, let me update the track here for you. Rotation kind of just along I-55 here. I was trying to see if I could find anything on the traffic cameras, and I can't. It's just not in that same location with that. But the storm here, we've been watching tornado warning in effect here for parts of Livingston Parish area, or I'm sorry, the Tangipahoa Parish area. This goes into effect until 11:30, so another 25 minutes. That is for the storm that's been showing some rotation. You can see here right in through there. I'll kind of stop it here, kind of just so you can watch and track this with me. That right there, and then it kind of worked its way up toward the Galva area. It had to have some decent rotation at this point too, and then now the latest radar not showing as much rotation here as it kind of works its way into the southern part of Tangipahoa Parish. Obviously, very rural area near the Acres area of well, if you're familiar with that area. So watching that one at this time as well too. But we'll be watching all kinds of storms. That's the storm there. Tornado warning in effect. Again, there's a little one till 11:15, but the bigger one for Tangipahoa Parish until 11:30 this morning. I want to go back a little bit more here, and we're watching some storms kind of closer to the metro area. Had some rotation earlier coming out of near the just north of the Raceland area. That was this storm right here. This storm, fortunately for us, has weakened as it continues to work its way here off across part of Charles Parish over toward Norco, and what's left of it is sitting right here over toward the spillway. So that's at least some good news. That storm has weakened, still producing some gusty winds likely with it as it continues to move forward. You can see that line of storms inching its way closer and closer toward the metro area. And you can see the metro area radar right now. Just looking at some heavy rain trying to come on in. Watching the storms still near the Zalman's area. These are going to continue working their way northward here and off to the northeast, though, eventually into the metro area. Kind of timing them out for you. They've been moving a fairly quickly clip there as they work their way off to the north and east at roughly about, say, 25 to 30 miles per hour. So these storms, as they continue to move through, we'll be watching this one here. I'll go ahead and put its track on just to give you an idea of when they might be moving the way into the metro area. And just see here, let's go ahead and put kind of these storms here, kind of working its way on in toward the metro area. Potentially here, again, around 11:42 noon, just as we expected this morning. The timing looks to be pretty good with those as well, too, here in the metro area. Anywhere from, say, Kennard 11:20, River Ridge 11:24, Metairie 11:32, here in the city about 11:42, and Terrytown about 11:51. So we've been waiting for the metro area to get hit with these, and they're coming our way in the next hour. So we need to get ready for that. Eric?
Storm, so we are telling people to be aware of that, and that's the reason we're staying on the air, because of these tornado warnings we've had this morning. This is important information, so we want to make sure you have it and keep you abreast of what's going on. All right, Erica Ferrando is joining us live. She is in Hammond, and we were just talking with Dave. They've had some really heavy rain and some tornado warnings over around the I-55 area south of where you are.
Up a little bit, but it was coming down pretty hard, and we just took the exit off of I-55. We were going to head down Highway 22 right here towards Ponchatoula, and this is kind of what we ran into right as we exited. Clearly, it's gotten pretty flooded. There's at least 2 cars down here that have stalled in this water. I would say it's probably about a foot deep, and if you actually look on I-55, there's even a little bit of water that's starting to build up on the interstate right there. And so kind of the problem, you can obviously see there's an SUV here trying to drive through it. The SUV is hopefully going to get through, but it's especially the shorter cars that have had some issues here. The problem is that when people exit here, if you take a look, I'm going to point you this way, you can see all these people are exiting here and then they don't really have anywhere to go. And so I think a lot of these drivers are now trying to figure out how they can turn around and get out of this area, because obviously this exit is a one-way to get onto Highway 22 towards Ponchatoula. And so we'll walk a little bit closer here to this water that we're seeing. This looks like this SUV did make it through. There's a blue car and a white car that both stalled in this water. So if you are driving around this area, definitely avoid getting in this water. Cars are stalling in it. And so where I am right now, it's probably about 6 inches deep, but definitely a little bit farther down, it's probably a foot at least, is what it looked like. It was probably almost to the top of the tires on that SUV. So if you're in this area, just avoid driving when you see any water. These cars, if you do take this exit, just make sure you get off before you're kind of stuck on this one way. We also heard that some reports that there were some trees down on some homes over on Chestnut Drive in Hammond. We're a little closer to Ponchatoula where we are right now, but the good thing is that the rain is lightening up, so hopefully this water doesn't build up too much, but it was definitely coming down really hard earlier. We drove on I-12 from Mandeville to Hammond, and it definitely started getting heavier towards Robert, especially once we got into Hammond. It was coming down really hard. A lot of the drivers were driving pretty slow on the interstate, probably around 40 miles an hour, just to try and stay safe. But we are thankful that now the rain has lightened up, but now these cars looks like these drivers are trying to figure out what to do after their cars stalled. So that's kind of what's going on here, guys, but we're gonna keep monitoring the situation. We're gonna drive into Ponchatoula and Hammond and see if there's anything else we want to make sure you all know.
All right, thanks very much, Erica. And unfortunately, we see that kind of situation all too often in underpasses. We've seen it here in town. We saw in Baton Rouge this morning a woman who was in a car, got trapped in what looked like a dip in the road. The water was very deep there. She had to be rescued by a couple of firefighters. I mean, it does happen. And we do want to tell people, because people sometimes get very mad that we stay on during their favorite soap opera, The Young and the Restless. The Young and the Restless will be broadcast at 2:07 a.m. tomorrow morning on Channel 4, so set your DVR for that. We are going to stay on. We've been staying on because this is very strong weather that has been coming through the area. And when you have tornado warnings, it is our duty to stay on the air and make sure people know about that, because lives can be saved that way. Dave gave a warning for folks in Tangipahoa Parish 30 or so minutes before a tornado may have happened there. Fortunately, that was discontinued, that warning there. All right, now they're telling me right now that we're getting power outages. Some 3,000 people in what area? In the Hammond area, in the Tangipahoa Parish area without power, and we see that a lot. And you can imagine it's going to be the same way in St. James Parish. They had that tornado come in Convent. We don't know how extensive the power outages are in St. James Parish, but we saw transformers blowing as that tornado ripped across the river road and across the river. And Dave, this weather system is going to be with us for a while. It is heading our way right now, correct?
That is right here. Just kind of doing the latest with the radar check. We've got some downpours coming in town right now and a little bit of some lightning with some of the storms as well, too.
We just hear thunder outside.
Yeah, my monitors kind of naturally flash when there's lightning. Watching these storms here across the metro area here, and just kind of showing what's going on to the city. We talked about earlier this morning that the chance of the storms coming on into our area would be closer to lunchtime. And, well, if you look at the current clock right now, and our time currently is 11:12. So we are dealing with, again, closer to lunch hour here. But you can see these storms coming on in from the Luling area, stretching back down to Zellman's. Notice a lot more lightning. Need to watch that. Usually see a little more lightning. Storm starts to intensify a little bit more with that one. So we're keeping an eye on that as they continue their way in toward the metro region here. Watching that, they are moving off to the northeast here at around 40 miles per hour, so pretty good clip with this, as you'll see kind of stretching down, timing it out. St. Rose around 11:14, which is right now almost. Kenner 11:24, Metairie 11:33, Westwego 11:35, and here in the city around 11:43, we'll see that line coming on into the area here, and Terrytown around 11:49. So as they come on in, not necessarily saying there's any tornadoes with these, but that's something I'll be watching out for. The environment is favorable for that. We have a tornado watch in effect till 5 o'clock this evening for these storms. So As that happens, we'll continue watching these storms coming on into our neck of the woods here. Behind it, look at this, nothing. That's what we're going to get this afternoon. So that is some wonderful news here. And actually see some breaks in the clouds, but see this big spin up here? This is an area low pressure. Remember Invest 91 way back earlier in the week? Well, it died, but it happened to form a little low that's more like a non-tropical low. That you can see the counterclockwise circulation with it heading toward Alexandria, going its way toward the Memphis area. And what has happened out ahead of it, it has developed these line of thunderstorms. And you can see that tornado watch that's in effect here that goes until we're sitting here till 5 o'clock this evening. I don't think we'll have severe weather that late, but with the back edge of this, notice there's some clearing. Sometimes right along that, with a warm front moving northward, we could see new storms pop up. So we still need to be aware of some of these storms as we move forward here throughout the rest of the day today. So we need to watch out for some of those as we go forward. But right now, though, you can't see here outside. We do have some cloud cover out there. Still looking at some pretty muggy weather, 82 degrees, but look at that dew point, 77. It is super humid outside. Feel like temperature 90 degrees right now, and a south wind around 17. North of the lake, we're in the 70s where it's raining, 80s where it's not. This is fuel, folks, for those thunderstorms. Temperatures feel like 90 here in town, 96 along the coastline, again, where it hasn't rained yet. But look at these winds coming out of the south. This is working its way northward. That warm front that moved through is moving its way northward. Winds, look at that, 30 gusting to 43 degrees or 43 miles per hour right now in Hammond. Very intense winds. That could do some little damage out there. Winds gusting to 25 at the airport in Kenner, 26 in Belle Chase, 30 down in Port Fourchon, and it's not even storming in those areas yet. So be aware of that. Here's that tornado watch in effect till 5 o'clock. Again, that does encompass much of southeast Louisiana and Mississippi coast as well. And so this is what we're going to continue to watch as that line moves in. That watch kind of being trimmed back a little bit. Live radar showing severe thunderstorm warning there for parts of Tangipahoa, St. Tammany Parish till 11:45 with those storms there. That was the one with the tornado. So we're keeping an eye on that. Severe storms kind of just off to the south, and had some warnings farther south. They have since gone out, which is good news. You can see, though, from Hammond, looking pretty good. Still have the tornado warning in southern Tangipahoa Parish. That storm that came out of the Galva area, working its way on in. Maybe a water spout with it. Did have some rotation that was somewhat impressive, but it dissipated quite a bit, which is good news. If you're watching this there all the way up toward Covington, Mandeville, Madisonville, strong storms coming up out of the southwest to northeast. They could produce some damaging winds at this time as well, too. There's that tornado warning here. This is the storm that came out of Galva. Warning goes till 11:30. Watching this one again, if there's a tornado, you know, it's kind of a marshy area, a lot of trees there, not really anything nearby. Acres is the closest thing. And again, we had some rotation still kind of showing up with it here on the radar, but not as impressive looking or tight rotation, which you want for a possible tornado. So still watching that here over southern part of Tangipahoa Parish. So we'll keep an eye on this one, hence the reason the tornado warning. It is moving off to the northeast, so if it does try to do something, may work its way closer on in toward the St. Tammany Parish line. Not seeing any debris out there, which is good news on a debris detector with that same storm. Farther to the south here, we are going down toward Lockport, Chauvin, and Dulac area. Again, heavy rain, very heavy rain coming out of the Houma area. Houma, your rain is done for now, which is good news. So if you have any street flooding, let us know here at Channel 4 so we can report on what might be closed. But there's Highway 90. Here's our storms coming to the coastal areas, Galliano, Golden Meadow, La Rose, get you oriented there. This is kind of working its way off to the east and northeast, and as it moves on in, we've seen small little pockets of rotation, but nothing significant, which is good news. Farther to the north, we're watching these storms here. Again, maybe some gusty winds near Luling, back over toward the I-10 and the Spillway area near Norco. But no strong enough rotation for any kind of tornado warnings. But that's that line of storms coming through the Luling area and heading eventually toward the metro area. Here's the Jefferson Parish line as that comes in. Kenner, River Ridge, Harahan area, Metairie, Old Jefferson area. You'll be starting to feel the impacts of all this as it continues on its trek closer on in. Just kind of showing you that direction kind of from southwest to northeast through that area. And as it works its way on in, we'll continue watching there again for potentially getting into the city. There's the lightning with that, so need to watch that storm. Could produce some strong gusty winds out there as it moves into the metro region. So I'll be watching that one here. But Eric, you've got a little update for us. What do you have now? Yeah, Dave, we do. Unfortunately, there's been a fatality reported up in Baton Rouge, a person dying in a car, drowning in a vehicle. We have Mike Steele with the Louisiana Department of Homeland Security on the phone with us right now. And this is sad news, but unfortunately, it does happen in storms like this.
Yeah, we are still waiting on the official confirmation from Louisiana Department of Health, but it looks like, there is a good chance that was storm-related, possibly someone in a flooded car. So we always talk about turn around, don't drown, and so it's one of the things that we really try to stress when we see these flash flood events. Unfortunately, that's where we usually see the most dangerous situations
And
for the public.
How much rain did you all get up in Baton Rouge? We saw that dramatic video of those 2 firemen rescuing that woman from that car that was sinking in that high water.
Yeah, there were some areas. The last report I heard, it had received up to 3 to 4 inches, within a very short period of time. The event actually started for us late last night as the storms kind of moved in over around Cameron Parish, then through Lake Charles, eventually across to Acadiana overnight and early this morning. And then as the sun came up this morning, that's when Baton Rouge really took the brunt of it.
Yeah.
But it's very dangerous. I actually had to travel to Covington because of a project that we're working on, and there were a number of signal lights out. A lot of people knew to treat those 4-way stops, but a lot of people were kind of just blowing through those intersections. So we're asking people to really use caution. Don't travel if you can avoid it until these conditions improve. And it looks like the North Shore and kind of Metro New Orleans are starting to kind of be in the crosshairs now.
We're looking at the radar right now, and you can see that storm is moving toward the North Shore and here on the South Shore as well. Up in Baton Rouge, hopefully the worst is over for folks up there. And are you familiar with the video they showed of the 2 firemen rescuing that woman? Do you know what area of Baton Rouge that was?
I haven't seen that. There were actually a number of those types of videos going around this morning. There's a number of problem spots in the Baton Rouge area that kind of traditionally go under when we see a pretty heavy rain come down.
Well, this looks like about 5 feet of water or so.
Yeah, there's a couple of spots like around Acadian Thruway, also around by the governor's mansion. Some of those spots go under, it seems like, from time to time. And so there's a number of spots that they're always asking the public to avoid. We also had some reports of possible tornado damage kind of around the Bluebonnet area along I-10. And I know Livingston Parish was also kind of examining a few spots. It's hard to tell sometimes, exactly what those events were, but there were some damage reported in those areas. So I'm sure it's something that the National Weather Service and the others will be investigating.
And apparently there were several tornadoes because we watched one that was caught on video in Convent as it came across the river. And I mean, it looked very powerful.
Right, absolutely. And there were a number of warnings going on. With these types of storms, sometimes it's hard to tell if there's actually a tornado involved with those. But the main thing we try to tell the public is make sure that they stay informed, stay in touch, look for those alerts, know what the difference between the watches and warnings mean, and take action if they need it. But the main thing when you have a storm with this much intensity is just, staying informed and staying weather aware.
All right, and just keep us posted on that possible fatality of someone possibly drowning in a vehicle up in Baton Rouge. It's sad news to hear that happening.
Absolutely. And again, we're still seeing areas impacted. So if you do have those flash flood events, avoid those roadways. DOTD has 511la.org that you can check to see if roads are being impacted. Also, there's a number of Twitter accounts that DOTD pushes out. So check a lot of those resources and by all means, try to avoid those flooded roadways.
Yeah, and again, when you get to a dip in the road or one of those underpasses that historically flood, we've already seen up in the Hammond area, one of our reporters was showing us a couple of the cars that had stalled out trying to go under an underpass. Yeah,
and I actually just came through the Hammond area. The good news was there were actually some blue skies as I came through, right on the western side of Hammond. So hopefully we'll keep seeing these storms push through at that speed and kind of get them out of the way.
All right, Mike, I appreciate that. Appreciate you talking with us today. And Dave, that's one of the reasons we do stay on, and I'm glad Mike said something about that. He said it's important to keep, weather aware and know the difference between a warning and a watch, and that's why we stay on when there are weather conditions like this, because we're under a tornado watch, and we've seen tornadoes already developed. They haven't been confirmed by the Weather Service yet. However, when we saw that one in Convent, that clearly was a tornado.
Yeah, that one is. And again, the driver fortunately lucked out with that one because that came right across the river. Couldn't see it over the levee, of course, there, and then did some damage. You saw the flash of the power lines. That's an indicative sign of a tornado. I mean, you saw the video itself. It was rotating and the debris flying around as well, too. That was lucky the start of that tornado, which probably, I think, not too far away from that was the Sunshine Bridge near Convent. A couple other a couple other tornadoes from the same supercell worked its way not too far away from Interstate 10 Airline Highway intersection right near Sorrento, crossing over Interstate 10 and then into the Amite River and then over across into southern Livingston Parish. Fortunately, that storm, by the time it got to Hammond and Ponchatoula, had weakened considerably. Thank goodness for that, right? But still producing some flooding rains where Erica was up there near the Ponchatoula area in LA 22, indicating that, yes, we still can get some very heavy rain with it. Now we're starting to see that severe weather threat kind of marching its way eastward. Parts of the area are no longer under tornado watch. Ascension, Livingston, St. James Parish has been canceled for you. The rest of us still are under that tornado watch until 5 o'clock, and we're still going to be watching again this line of storms as it moves on into the metro area. I want to show you first kind of what's going on closer to home here and show you that we do have these storms coming on in toward metro New Orleans. I've seen a pretty healthy one dust down to the south, but kind of timing it out for you here. Looks like just before the noon hour, possibly here across the metro area with these storms kind of closing in on Kenner right now. And as they move on into the metro region here, we'll be producing some pretty good downpours. This is now the time we can start seeing some of our, not necessarily severe weather, but flooding, street flooding rains across the area as we go forward here. So we need to be careful of that. Kenner, River Ridge, Harahan area into Metairie, you're starting to feel the heavy rain now, eventually here in about the next, say, 25, 30 minutes here in downtown New Orleans. So when we get to that point, that is when we could start to see here during the lunch hour some of that street flooding. So hopefully if you're going to lunch, maybe you can go before the storms come on in. Eric?
And Dave, just before we go to one of our reporters, the weather we're seeing here, that's that same system that went through Baton Rouge. They got tons of rain. Are we going to get the same kind of rain here?
Yes, potentially. We could pick up a quick 2-3 inches of rain in a short period of time. So that's why I'm saying, again, it's going to come through right by the lunch hour. So those streets that are prone to street flooding, we definitely could see that here heading into the next, say, 30 minutes or so as we get to noon.
And right on cue, as you said, that the thunder started clapping outside. Let's get to one of our reporters, Erica Ferrando, who's up in Hammond. We saw she was by an underpass a little while ago where some cars had gotten stuck. Where are you now? Same place?
We are at the same place, but we actually came to the other side of the underpass. This is the Highway 22 exit right off of I-55 heading towards Ponchatoula. And this exit right here has basically like turned into a river. It looks like it's at least a foot deep, and there have been a couple cars that have gotten stuck in it. Most of the big trucks and the big SUVs have been making it through. We've seen a pretty constant flow of drivers driving through this. Thankfully, it doesn't look like it's getting any higher since the rain has stopped. We do know there's a driver in here in this vehicle right here. She's been here for a little while. We're going to make sure that we get her some help. I don't know if she's called anyone yet, but I kind of talked to her through her window, and I know she's, I think, trying to get some help out here. But other cars that were stalled out here were able to get off of this area. Looks like there might be another car stalled up there. I don't know if they got stuck because of the flood water or if they're trying to get some help for something else, but we've seen at least probably 3 cars get stalled in this water right here. The water was even building up a little bit on I-55. I can't tell if it's gone down or not. The rain has pretty much stopped in the area, so that's good news. I'm hoping this water here doesn't get up anymore, but we're right off Ponchatoula, and it looks like this is definitely an area you want to avoid if you can. And one of the problems is that when cars exit off I-55 right here, it's obviously a one-way when you're trying to get onto Highway 22 in Ponchatoula, and so they're trying to figure out where to turn around and how to get out of this area. We saw a lot of cars backing up actually, and thankfully getting out of this area. It's definitely not something you want to drive through though, because we have seen cars getting stalled out here. Eric?
We had a report of a fatality from a person being trapped in a flooded car. We saw a dramatic rescue also in Baton Rouge of a woman getting out of a car. But when you have underpasses like this and people go through and then they stall out, then other people come by and then the water from their vehicle sloshes into the vehicle that's already stalled out and making a bad situation even worse for them.
that's the reason you want to try and not drive through this area. Obviously, I think one of the things is when you start driving in that flooded water, it doesn't seem too deep at first, but once you get a little bit further, you can tell it definitely is a little deeper than you thought it was. And so I mean, when you see cars driving through here, the water is almost to the top of their tires. And so it looks like there's another car trying to drive through it. Hopefully they'll be able to get through since they're a little higher up. But yeah, we've definitely seen a lot of cars driving through this, and you definitely want to avoid that. There are other ways to get out of this area, and this is probably not the best idea, though. Hopefully they'll make it out okay, since they are a little bit higher, and hopefully the water is going down since it's, the rain has kind of stopped.
Yeah, it does appear it has gone down a bit, Erica. Thank you very much. We appreciate that. Let's go to Jacqueline Quinn, who is in Ascension Parish, where they had some rough weather there as well. Jacqueline?
Yeah, you can see a lot of debris around me. I'm standing right now on Beach Street, and the cross street is Rustling Oak. It's close to Highway 44, and this is the damage that's left behind there. Thinking that a tornado may have touched down here around 10 o'clock. You have sheriffs, the Ascension Parish Sheriff's Office out here right now, some power crews, but you see here trees down, power lines down. Back there's a roof that's damaged. Just looking back further to where Steve is focusing right now, you see part of that power line and that home over there impacted by, it looks like a tree that has fallen over there, and people are just looking and assessing the damage at this point. But so far, when we were talking with sheriff's deputies out here, they're not hearing of any injuries at this point. But there's some people, just surveying, making sure that people are okay. But again, getting word from out here at least that there are no injuries. But really, it does look like something went through here, because there are a lot of trees down. There is damage to the roofs. It happened around 10 o'clock, and we're waiting to speak with the sheriff, so he should be coming back here in this area. This may not be the only area that's affected, but I know that we were looking for reports of where this touched down, listening to Dave, and so we kind of made it over here, and it certainly looks like something came over here. You can see the damage here to this garage, the trees again just fallen over, or the limbs from that tree fallen over, and then you see that house over there. There's already tarp kind of covering some of that area, but you see that roof there. Looks like it was ripped apart here, probably by strong winds. And then, some of that water still behind here, kind of clear right now for the moment. But certainly a lot of debris around here, things just strewn about. Looks like some of that even coming from some of the homes here. But trees here also to the left of us, that's limbs and the trees that were kind of whipped by the strong winds at this point. This street right here, this is again Beach Street. It looks like it's blocked off over here as utility crews and some members of law enforcement are here on the scene, making sure that everybody's okay. Again, I checked in earlier when I came to the scene here, and they said that so far they haven't heard of any injuries here in Ascension Parish. Now, they tell me that this likely happened around 10. That was when we were watching with Dave. He was talking about some of the strong winds there, looking for some of those areas where they believe there was some tornadic activity. So as we were driving around Highway 44, we turned here onto Rustling Oak. This is Beach Street, and this is what we're seeing. Now, they do believe that this may be one of the areas that was more so heavily impacted during the weather that came through here. And this is actually the sheriff?
Yes.
Hi, Bobby.
Good morning.
This is Bobby Weber, Sheriff of Ascension Parish, and we're live right now. Can you tell me what happened earlier and when this kind of happened?
Well, first off, thanks Channel 4 and WWL for having an interest in this story. Well, earlier this morning, we did have a strong line of thunderstorms come through Ascension Parish, and we went under a tornado watch just after 9, and then we started getting reports that a tornado touched down in the Galvez area. And we can see that it came from maybe the west tracking eastward. It hit right here on Beach Street, as you can see. Also, some of our residents on Chris Street was hit pretty hard. And I think it even started down on in Galvez Villa, some damage to houses there. Fortunately, no one is seriously injured. No one was entrapped in their houses, or if they were, it was for a short period of time. We also had reports of a little tornado hitting out McElroy Swamp, where we had a few injuries there at one of the, they had a trailer back there, an office trailer, so to speak, and some people were in that office trailer, and there were, I think, 5 injuries reported. Again, we're so fortunate, nothing serious. But yeah, as soon as that strong thunderstorm came through, we started getting reports of this twister hitting the Galvez area. And I understand, and I haven't been paying attention to media coverage elsewhere, but I understand maybe Baton Rouge and other areas may have been hit hard also. So the great news that we have today to report to you is there's no major injuries. Now we also, you know, the Office of Emergency Preparedness is out here. You have the fire departments here. You have all the first responders here, Acadian Ambulance. So it's been a good combined effort from everyone to try to assist our neighbors. And American Red Cross has been put on standby. I think there's one family that requested some assistance so far, and we'll make sure we reach out to that family and help. But we are at least blessed of the fact that there's no injuries, there's no deaths, and all these homes can be replaced. You hate it for the homeowner, but they can be replaced, and we're just glad that there's no injuries and no deaths, and it looked like maybe the worst of the weather is behind us.
Let's hope so. Now, the 5 people that you were talking about that were injured, what kind of injuries? You said it was nothing major, and were they taken to the hospital?
Yes, all 5 were taken to the hospital. In McElroy Swamp, if you know, it's down by 61 and Interstate 10, large swamp area. There's an office trailer back there. I'm not sure exactly what company they work for, but I think the office trailer was blown over by the heavy winds. The worst injury, I think, is a broken leg. Maybe one of the gentlemen has a gash, but that, again, not very seriously. So all 5 have been transported to the local hospital to be checked on. So again, we're fortunate that there was no serious injuries.
Now, can you tell me the extent of damage in the areas that you've been traveling through, and start with the area that we're in right now?
Yeah, so you on Beach Street, right in the heart of Galvez. You see the damage to some of the homes here. Obviously, this home, I don't know if it would be totally destroyed, but you would see maybe 3 or 4 homes like this. Others you will see with maybe partial roof damage, and some maybe with lighter damage. If you would leave here and go to the next area, which we reported on Chris Street, there will be a house that was completely demolished, almost knocked to the ground. It looked like it was hit by at least 2 or 3 oaks that fell on it from both the front and the back. And the residents were there. They were inside the home when it happened, so they were very fortunate to get out. Matter of fact, it's happened to be some church members of mine. But they're good. Everybody's okay. So although it's not extensive, the damage that you see to the homes that receive damage is major damage. And of course, this area, as you can tell, is surrounded by lovely oak trees and a lot of trees. And when they fall, they cause a lot of damage. The house behind you, you can see this is mostly 100% wind damage. There's no trees around it, but you can see that the wind just got under the eaves of the house and took off a portion of the roof, while the house next to you received hardly no damage. So it's odd how these tornadoes work, how these weather systems work, and you always have to be prepared. One thing I will tell you, that talking to a lot of the residents that was in their homes at the time, it seems like our residents are really putting together a plan. The majority I've talked to says, we heard it, we felt it, we went to a safe place, whether that be a bathroom located in the center of the home or a closet. So it was so nice to hear reports from them saying, we went to a safe place in the home. So I think this educational program that we've been putting out, the state's been putting out, OEP been putting out about get a plan. Now, we usually say it for hurricanes, but you never know when a tornado is going to hit either. So always have a plan, and it was nice to talk to our residents when they said they followed their plan. So it's really working.
Yeah, that's a good reminder. Now, I know it's pretty early. Do you have any idea how strong it looks like a tornado may have touched down here? Are you talking to National Weather Service?
Well, you know, that's who we're going to rely on. We're going to rely on the National Weather Service to give us that data and see exactly what was this. You know, they're going to have to determine whether it was a tornado or not. Me and you out here say, okay, it was a tornado. Okay, to what degree was it a tornado? You know, what category they're going to give it, how they're going to classify it. We don't know yet. It may be several days before we know that. It's going to be important to all of our residents here so that they know that, you know, as they try to get their lives back together and get their homes back together. So no, I don't think we're going to have that information today, or maybe not even this week, as exactly what classification they're going to give this tornado.
Anything else you would like residents to know at this time? You said that you don't believe stronger storms are coming?
Well, it just looks like, looking at the local radar recently, that the worst of the storms are behind us. We will always be mindful. always keep that game plan in mind. I will tell the residents in the Galvez area that the Ascension Parish Sheriff's Office will be out here in force because we know electricity will be off. We'll be out here tonight as people try to recover and put tarps on their houses or gather their belongings. And if they have any issues, any concerns, please call 911 or call the Ascension Parish Sheriff's Office. But we will have a heavy presence in this area and all the areas that receive damage throughout tonight and tomorrow, and we will reach out to our residents to see where they're at and what they may need, or if they need any more assistance, we'll be glad to reach out to them.
Sheriff Bobby Weber, thank you so much. Stay right here. We're going to talk to you in just a little bit. I want to wrap up what he said. He said in this area it appears no injuries, but about 5 people injured. They were taken in the hospital, but no major injuries at this point. Right now we're going to send it back to you. We're going to go around and see if we can talk with some of the residents here. Reporting in Ascension Parish, Jacqueline Quinn, Eyewitness News.
And Jacqueline, before you go, from your vantage point there and from what the sheriff has seen, in that neighborhood you're in, about how wide of a swath was that the tornado or the winds came through? I mean, how many homes does it look like are damaged from your vantage point?
Let me check around here. Let me talk to the sheriff even about that. But when I came up here, they said it looked like this area got some of the brunt. But, you know, in this home, there looks to be, it's pretty populated. It would be like maybe like a dozen homes or 20 maybe in that range.
Yeah, no, this is a rural subdivision. This is Beach Street subdivision. Right behind us are more homes. So I would say there's probably more than 20 homes in this immediate area, probably 25 to 30 in this immediate area.
The other area was not residential, right? You're talking about the area by the swamp?
Yeah, that was not residential at all. That was all wetlands, the McElroy Swamp area down to the south of us. Mm-hmm.
So it looks at least this street and then one over, and like he said, it's probably a couple dozen homes at this point. Eric?
All right, thanks very much, Jacqueline. We appreciate that, and tell the sheriff thanks too. And Dave, when you look at the damage we saw on that one house with a roof torn off, but houses next door untouched. So that is indicative of a tornado, isn't it?
Very likely. I mean, there's the different things, how far apart of the houses are spaced. It could be a microburst that came down right on top of the house and did damage too. Obviously, to get an aerial to see, is damage kind of all pushed one way through the house, or is it like all over the place? That's kind of what you have to look for. If it's in different directions, trees laid down in different directions, usually that means a tornado. So based off of what we saw on the radar, that was likely a tornado going across that part of the area earlier today. Right now, though, here in town, we are starting to feel the impacts of heavy rain moving on into the region. Look at these winds, though, right now. I want to show you, we are currently sitting at winds sustained at 21 there at Kenner at the airport, 20 at Lakefront Airport, but gusting to 40 in the airport there in Kenner. So these could be non-thunderstorm type wind damage, maybe some power outages coming. You know, when it gets really windy here, we usually have issues, so we're watching out for that. Again, for the alert terminology, when we say there's a watch, like tornado watch, that means we're watching for severe weather. Hasn't formed yet, but potential. When there's a warning, that means severe weather has been reported on radar or in person. We've seen some tornado warnings out there. That's what that means. In emergency, it would be a confirmed tornado or some flooding out there. We've seen some of those back near the Baton Rouge area earlier. By the way, tornado safety, again, your lower interior room is where you want to be. A closet, bathroom, or underneath your staircase. If you have a staircase in your home, have a helmet, have your shoes on too. Helmet because it protects your head, which is good. Bicycle helmet, perfect for that. Shoes in case you have to leave. You're not walking barefoot through debris. That could cause more problems. Also, turn your TV up high. Have your phone with you too so you can hear me when I'm giving you alerts, and stay in the shelter until it is clear. When I give you the all clear, then you can get out of those areas, and so that's kind of what we talk about here. We still have that tornado watch for much of southeast Louisiana, Mississippi coast. It goes till 5 o'clock, so we're still watching out for that. Line of storms moving to Metro New Orleans now, still impacting St. Tammany Parish, Hammond, Ponchatoula, back to St. James Parish, St. John the Baptist, over towards St. Charles, heading to parts of, at least not all of Lafourche, but upper Lafourche and kind of western Terrebonne. You're in the clear. Things are out of your hair. You don't have to worry about this anymore. Good news for you. Heavy storm coming on in here. Watching this one coming this way out of the Covington area, Mandeville area, and kind of building its way southward. To watch these storms here, did have a little rotation with the tail end of that one, so worth watching that one there as it comes out of part of the southern Tangipahoa Hope Parish there. But nonetheless, though, still going to keep an eye on that. Could possibly produce a water spout over the land. Madisonville, heavy rain, Covington, Mandeville for you right now. But again, the Ponchatoula area where Erica is, the flooding in the interstate, that is rain-free right now, which is good news. But we'll still be watching this one here too, as well as we go forward here. here. Seeing a little rotation right where that little appendage, if you will, is sticking down here. So we'll be watching that to see if maybe that tries to do something and gets closer to the water. Fortunately, there's nothing there but trees and bayou, marshy areas there. So we'll be watching that to see if that tries to do something there. Farther to the south, going down towards Chauvin. Homa, you're looking good. Chauvin, heavy rain, La Rose area, headed toward Galliano, Golden Meadow area. Not seeing any strong rotation, but some strong winds between La Rose and Jean Lafitte area with that storm there. As it comes on in, winds could kick up to 40 miles per hour with that one, as we see there on the radar. Farther to the north, things Laplace, Norco area looking good. Same for Luling. Now the metro area is starting to feel the impacts of all the heavy rain coming on in. And this doesn't look really intense, but the atmosphere is so juiced up, folks, that it doesn't take much to get a quick 2-3 inches of rain in a matter of 20-30 minutes. And we know what happens around here. When that happens, we get street flooding. So we need to be aware of that as we move forward. You can see that rain kind of working its way right into the metro area here. So we're just starting to get some of the moderate rain falling. It's going to get a lot heavier as we head into lunchtime. I told you 11:45, which is 1 minute away till lunchtime. That's when we will start seeing some of these bigger storms coming on in. And we are having them coming in right now, the area right now, Wagaman, Metairie, here through the city, Chalmette, Belchase, you're starting to feel the impacts of that as well. Zooming on in, there you see, here's the city. Light to moderate rain, but heavy rain right now. Kenner, River Ridge, Harahan area, Elmwood. You know Elmwood, it floods a lot there on Clearview Parkway, Harahan area. We're seeing that. Some of the neighborhoods from Kenner and River Ridge still looking for heavy rain down towards the West Bank as well, too. Old Jefferson, a lot of those areas by Jeff Highway, a lot of areas there flood near Ochsner Hospital. Watch out for that. Metairie, some of the streets in the neighborhoods there tend to flood when you get some heavy downpours. That's moving on into Metro the City as well, too. And all this continues this trek here off to the east, but notice behind it, not much out there, which is great news. And look at this. You see a spin. This is that low. It was at one point Invest 91, dissipated, has come back as a low, working its way up here, not too far away from Alexandria, heading its way toward the Memphis area. And out ahead of it, that's where we have the severe weather. Look at this. Some clearing back to the west. May see a few peaks of sunshine a little later in the day today. We'll talk more about that here in a little bit. But Eric, what do you have for us now?
Why we're staying on this long, and fans of the Young and the Restless, a lot of times you all get mad that we keep on when there are weather problems like this. The Young and the Restless will be broadcast at 2:07 a.m. tomorrow morning. So if you set your DVR, you won't miss a thing on that. But we keep on the air because we have seen some very rough weather come through the metro area and west of us, northwest of us. We saw up in Convent, we have video of a tornado crossing the river and then River Road, and you can see it hits power lines. It looks like a very strong tornado. We have seen a number, at least evidence of a number of tornadoes west of us right now and north of us. But the storm system is moving our way, and that's what Dave is trying to keep us apprised of right now. So we have that tornado, what appears to be a tornado in the Convent. And then in Baton Rouge, we had heavy flooding in Baton Rouge. There was a dramatic rescue caught on video of a couple of firefighters pulling a woman out of a car. We also have another report of another car where a person apparently drowned. So we've had one fatality from all this heavy rain and rough weather up in the Baton Rouge area. In Ascension Parish, where our reporter Jacqueline Quinn was, they had a report of 5 injuries in a more remote area of Ascension Parish. She was in a neighborhood in Ascension where we saw several homes damaged. Trees were down, power lines down. One house had the roof almost entirely ripped off. And we're looking at some of that video right now from Ascension Parish. Jacqueline is there live, checking out some of the damage. We'll get back to her in a little while. But that's the situation. That's why we're staying on right now, because that system that caused all that and wreaked all that havoc and had those tornadoes flare up in Ascension Parish and Livingston Parish and areas northwest of us. That's the storm system that's heading our way. We're under a tornado watch until 5 o'clock this afternoon. And Dave, the reason we're under a tornado watch is because the possibility with this storm system exists that there could be more tornadoes.
And Eric, a new tornado warning just came out a minute ago. This one is for the storm I was just talking about a second ago, coming out of that corner of Tangipahoa Parish into St. Tammany Parish. This one does include the Madisonville area. It was the tail end of that thunderstorm I was showing you earlier, potentially showing a tornado. And the right area we're looking at here on the radar is this location right there. That is where we have the potential for a tornado to develop. We're not seeing anything here debris-wise, but we'll keep an eye eye on that at the moment as well, too. But let me go back and show you what we're talking about. This was this line of storms that's kind of been working its way here across the area, and that is the new tornado warning now till 12:15 here. That's that thunderstorm I just a little bit ago before we tossed to Eric was watching that storm, and sure enough, the tornado warning came out on it. Little appendage, I called it. That's what the technical term is, and that's for this storm. So again, that's coming out of the far southeast corner of Tangipahoa Parish there, and does continue into St. Tammany Parish, and does include the Madisonville area. We'll be watching this one kind of work its way maybe toward Covington. So if you're watching us in Covington, we're keeping an eye on that. It's this right here, the little tail end of that. You can see Madisonville right in the middle of the tornado warning here as well, too, as the storm's going to moving in that direction here. So here's LA 22, here's Interstate 12, kind of orange. You obviously Lake Pontchartrain here. That tail end of the storm is a little call for a little inflow notch here. The winds are real strong, kind of go into it, wrap around something, and you're looking at rotation. That's where we're looking. That is our rotation there. The red's going away from the radar, green's going toward the radar, so we have something circulating here, and this is going to continue its track possibly to Madisonville. So if you're watching us in Madisonville, we talked about this earlier, you want to be in the lowest level of your home, away from windows and interior bathroom or closet, underneath the staircase if you have some stairs. I know some bigger homes up there do have some staircases, and at least the newer homes in that area. Keep that in mind. You want to stay, again, maybe grab a bicycle helmet, stick it on your head, have shoes on your feet in case this does become a tornado, and it kind of work its way across that area there. Again, kind of working its way through the Beatico area, which is not too far away from there as well, and kind of just south of the Robert area. So Robert, you're okay, but as this continues here toward LA 22, I'll be watching that one here. Eventually, it could work its way over toward the Covington area as well to see how this one pans out, at least at this point. But it does have some rotation. And again, looking at the debris tracker, not really seeing anything that really stands out at this point, which is good news. But there is some good rotation showing up with this. This was the storm that had a possible tornado not too far away from the Acres area, and then farther to the south in a very wooded area and really rural area of parts of St. John Parish, and then heading on into it not too far from the Manchac area, kind of went down this way. So it was past Manchac Pass and kind of up to where it's currently located there. But there is some pretty strong rotation now showing up with the radar with this one here. And again, it could be working its way close to Madisonville, so you want to be in your safe place right now. Covington area, you want to get ready for this too. We're looking at 11:45. The warning goes till 12:15 with this one as the storm continues to show potentially maybe something trying to develop right here, the kind of tail end southwest corner of the storm. That's where you look for tornadoes. And again, this one here kind of working its way off to the north, kind of clipping part of Madisonville area, and then up toward the Covington area again till 12:15. So it's that tail end of the storm is what we're keeping an eye on there. And it has been showing a little bit better rotation here the last couple sweeps of the radar that have been passing by. As you can see, here's Interstate 12, there's LA 22, Causeway Boulevard there, Manville, and where Covington's located. So we'll be watching that as it continues on its northward track. Still haven't seen anything with debris, but we'll wait for a few more sweeps in the radar if it's trying to do something. You know, it's heavily wooded here, kind of just south of the parish line is right here. Here's again LA 22, so be watching that one here pretty closely. But we still can see some of these storms trying to produce a couple tornadoes. Heavy rain with this as well too. So again, hard to see this if there is something and be likely wrapped in the tornado. But definitely keeping an eye on that one here. Going to go down to the South Shore, watching some heavier storms there from Chauvin back to La Rose area. Nothing rotating with them, which is good news. Things are looking pretty good. Des Allemands, Lily, North Hill, LaPlace area just fine for you. But across the metro area, that's where we're starting to see that heavy rain sneaking on in now. Not sneaking, it is here. Metairie all the way back to Metro City here. And City not in the heaviest rain, but Bridge City, Wagaman, River Ridge, Harahan, Elmwood area. Areas that typically flood a lot. Watch out. Going to Old Jefferson. Here's Causeway, Jefferson Highway here. That area tends to pick up a lot of water when you have a lot of heavy rain. So watch out for those businesses there. And Jeff Highway as well, up toward Causeway Boulevard. Old Metairie, you see those areas of Metairie Road. Yep, you know how they flood. You can see some street flooding there as well. Be prepared for that if you're going out to lunch here. In the metro area, a lighter, steady rain, but this is headed into the city. So as that moves in, that's going to bring us that heavier downpours as it continues its trek in. Fortunately, that's it. Once this passes through, we're good for the day. for severe weather. May still get a little bit of some rain out there, but nonetheless, though, still going to be watching things fairly closely. So here in the city, again, heavy rain coming on in. 2-3 inches of rain not out of the question in a short period of time. Already from Metairie back toward Kenner, River Ridge. Actually, the back edge of it coming through Kenner now, right along, let's see, Williams Boulevard right there. So still watching that one. Airline Highway, pretty heavy rain coming on in too with this as it moves closer and closer to the metro area. But once it passes by, that's it for the heavy rain for now. Kind of stepping back a little bit more here, kind of jumping all the way back to our tornado warning. Show you here, we are looking again at this storm here, kind of back up. There is what we're seeing. This thunderstorm kind of looks like maybe a little hook trying to form there. Just watching the radar closely with this one here, but that tornado warning in effect again until 12:15. It does include the Covington area. You are in this tornado warning, so Madisonville, Covington, need to take shelter right now in the lowest level of your room, and again, are in a building. I want to stay away from windows, away from any doors out there as well too. An interior bathroom or closet, the best place to be with this, as we are seeing some of that rotation trying to show up there with the storm again right there, right along the Parish line. Again, seeing some of that rotation tied in with that storm back into the Covington area. So I need to keep an eye on this one here. It's starting to move into a more populated area. One of the first storms that we've seen today that's in the more populated regions here across the area with this storm. So keeping an eye on that one. It has a small tornado detection signature with it, but keeping an eye to see maybe look better. So see, you could take that tornado warning. Let me go here. Still saying looks like it had a little bit of rotation with it here. Let me zip forward here and see if it's still trying to do something. Let me zip back in our tornado detection, showing that maybe it did right there, kind of working its way. Let's see here, potentially. See 11:45 and kind of jump back here. Let me just do a quick little analysis. And that's what we try to do right through there. When it was right there, 11:45, it looked like at this point, right in through here, if you watch that location there, and then I switch over to the velocity, go back to 11:45 when it was right there. Potentially, it was a tornado at that point. And we go back to the tornado detection. You go back to 11:45, and that's exactly where we had a little debris showing up right there. So this was a tornado. Now you can see that debris is not really so much involved in it. It kind of maybe involved just a little bit of the storm. But this one here, they did have a confirmed tornado with that one over a very rural, watery area with this storm. So again, watching this one pretty closely here, it's kind of taking a leftward turn from the main motion of the storm. So that's some good news, as some of these storms have done. They've come on shore and they kind of do one of these little hooks like that lately. That's kind of what they do today. But looks like this was an actual tornado briefly right there. This is where we have that debris signature showing a little bit of a tornado. Fortunately, if you watch how it does kind of make that turn up to the north there and kind of went from where it was kind of like this way. So hopefully it has lifted, but we still have a tornado warning in effect for that area. Still showing some rotation with it. Again, it was much more impressive earlier right through that location there. This is where, again, we had that what we're going to call a confirmed tornado, at least by Doppler radar standards, and then kind of has moved its way northward here, but making that little bit of a left turn. So still going to be watching that one closely as we go forward here. That likely that part of the storm that was tornadic is now up in this location of the storm now. So again, this one could potentially just totally miss Madisonville. So that'd be some great news for you. You're still under a tornado warning for that area. Still going to watch that one pretty closely for us though. But if you're in that region, we still need to watch that. Covington, you're still included in this one here. It goes until 12, let's see, around 12:10. I'll go ahead and time that one out here for you. Just to give you an idea, as the storm is moving, again, not that fast. This one around 25 miles per hour, so we'll be moving their way to Covington there around 12:18, anywhere from 12:10, 12:20 time frame with that one. So again, still watching that pretty closely as we go forward. But this storm is definitely the main one out there that's had, again, a possible tornado with it as it kind of worked its way there, kind of right where that arrow is in the word tornado warning was pointing down. That's about where the center of rotation would be here. This location right in through here is where we're looking for that one, and not seeing any debris, at least at the moment with that one, which would be some good news, meaning there was a tornado earlier with this one. It is lifted and kind of worked its way northward as well too. So definitely watching that one. More storms down to the south. We're keeping an eye on those. As you'll see here, no rotation showing up with those, which is some good news. But nonetheless, though, keeping an eye on some of these other storms. Gusty winds, La Rose, Galliano with their storms as they've moved on through your area. But nothing else to worry about. Laplace, Luling, Norco area, which is good news. You can see the rain is cleared out there at this time, but rain is moving on into parts of the Metairie area. It will continue on its track that way toward our region here too as we move forward. This batch of heavy rain coming on into the area, and as it continues to do that, will still bring us the threat for some heavy downpours coming on in. And as it continues to move on into our region, watch out for that street flooding potential out there. Metairie coming now just into Metro New Orleans and continue to work its way through that area. But going back to the storm here, again, not too far away from the Covington area, Madisonville. Covington, Madisonville, both in that tornado warning again until 12:15. One good thing I will have to add with this is that while it was reported as a tornado earlier, that fortunately is some good news, is that at least at this point, does not have any signs of a rotation showing up, which is a good sign. It did earlier when it was still kind of right over top of the lake there, but at least at this point things are looking better, which is some good news. But again, some of that rotation kind of just tied in here, working its way coming up from the lake earlier, and then kind of working its way basically off to the north of Madisonville. So still going to watch that area though. Kind of maybe this might be brushing by the Covington area as well too, and not seeing any at least debris at least at this point with that, which is also some great news. There's sort of like could just be some gusty winds coming from that storm from what we had earlier that was down toward the coast where we did have that. So that was a very rural area, but definitely the metro area dealing with the heavy rain right now. Again, street flooding very likely in town. Actually, the Weather Service has just issued a flood advisory for Jefferson and Orleans parishes. This goes till 2 o'clock this afternoon. Again, we could pick up an additional 1 to 2 inches or more, likely going to cause some street flooding issues as we move forward here. So if you're watching us there from River Ridge, Harahan, Elmwood area over toward Metairie, Old Jefferson, likely street flooding ongoing for you back toward Bridge City, Westwego area, but also in the metro area. We're just now here at this noon hour, the heavy rain's coming in, Eric, so we need to be aware for some street flooding to start to begin.
All right, Dave, thank you very much. And it is just about 12 o'clock right now. We're going to begin our noon news right now.
Eyewitness News begins with breaking news.
And this video from Convent, Louisiana in St. James Parish tells the story of what we have been watching today. You can see a tornado coming across the river, over the levee, over those power lines, transformers bursting, and across River Road in Convent, Louisiana. That's one of a number of tornadoes that have been reported today in southeast Louisiana. And we have been under a tornado watch actually, we're going to stay under a tornado watch here in the metro area. There is a tornado warning going on right now. There has been flooding. Let's talk about what happened in Baton Rouge. They had intense flooding today. You can see firemen there. There's one fireman, a second one will come in. They're in the red shirts, trying to save a woman who is trapped in that car that's floating in that high water. The good news there, they were able to rescue that woman as the car begins to sink. They finally got her out. You can see them breaking the windows to get to her as that car starts to slowly sink in that heavy water. They did a Herculean effort there to pull that woman to safety. That's the good news in Baton Rouge. The bad news in Baton Rouge is there has been a report of a fatality, a person drowning in a car in high water, and I believe we have some information about that.
We did have a fatality. Fire department worked. It was at Chippewa, where the water is always risen right there as you go under. We rescued the individual from the car. He was given to EMS transported, and unfortunately he did not make it.
And that is sad news to report. Let's get over to Dave. We have that weather. The same system that roared through Baton Rouge is coming through our area right now.
It is, and we talked about this morning, Eric, 12 noon, that's when the rain's going to come in, and here you have it. Again, heavy rain falling right over top of the city now. Right now, the severe threat is not significant here other than some flooding. That's kind of what we're looking at across the area, just issued by the Weather Service, a flood advisory for us. Basically, that means we could be dealing with some street flooding coming underway here momentarily. But right now, though, we can see that we are looking at a tornado watch for much of southeast Louisiana, Mississippi coast until 5 o'clock today. As you'll see, again, some of the rain starting to move on into the region. And we can still see that we do have, again, some pretty good downpours downpours coming right into the metro area as we speak. And as we go forward here, we are seeing again that one storm we're watching with that tornado warning here up across part of St. Tammany Parish now. Not as impressive as it once was. It did produce a weak tornado right over part of the parish line, maybe right there. Again, a couple of about say 20 minutes ago or so. That has since dissipated. The radar did indicate there was enough debris being lofted by the tornado, but it has weakened. So Madisonville still in the tornado warning. So is Covington. Weather Service going to continue to let this going. It does go till 12:15, but it looks like the rotation with it has weakened significantly. Not as impressive as it once was, kind of just mixed in here, kind of off to the northwest of Madisonville, west of Covington. So still going to watch this one closely in case it tries to tighten up or start to get a little stronger out there. And again, not seeing any debris at all, which stands out, which is good news. Metro area, here's the heavy rain coming in. Kenner, things are looking better for you, but the rest of us, though, things are looking kind of rough out there. Metairie back toward Bridge City. River Ridge a little bit better, but Harahan, Elmwood area over to the West Bank, heading toward the CBD now, uptown, Mid-City, over toward Lakeview. Here comes that heavy rain, and this is really, really heavy rain, folks. So we are talking about potential for street flooding, a flood advisory in effect here for another 2 hours, as we're going to have some of the rain likely causing some street flooding issues across the region. So be prepared for this to continue out here. As that moves through, the back edge of this is looking good. Things are much better across the area as we head on into the afternoon. As that line moves through, look at this, even some sunshine coming out. Area low pressure spinning up here. That is what was Invest 91, dissipated, gone. Formed a new surface low, non-tropical, and kind of working its way to the north toward Memphis, and has dragged a warm front north of us and sparked off that severe weather, and there's tornadoes across our area as that front continues this northward track. This cold front not really moving through, but helping to spark off a little more rain for us for tomorrow. Still have a risk for severe weather across the area today. Level 2 for the New Orleans area, part of St. Tammany, Washington Parish, Mississippi coast, but as you go farther to the west, that's being trimmed back as the severe weather threat has come to an end. So today, storm threats, 1 to 3 inches of rain, street flooding locally across the area. Seeing that right now in the city. Winds 40 to 60 miles per hour. Still could see a few more tornadoes with any of those severe storms that do pop up across the region. Flash flood watch remains in effect till 7 o'clock, although I think we'll be done with the heavy rain here way before 7 o'clock time frame, the way things look right now. And you can't even see much outside with the heavy rain falling over the city. 77 here, 81 degrees in Slidell. And as we go throughout the day today, temperatures, look at that, will warm up because it could see some sunshine by 5 o'clock and then kind of tapering off with a small chance for rain heading into the evening hours. Eric?
All right, Dave, thank you very much. And let's go over to Jacqueline Quinn, who's in Ascension Parish. She was talking with the sheriff there. She's in a neighborhood where they have seen a lot of damage, and it does look like a tornado hit that area, doesn't it?
Yeah, it certainly does. In Galvez, this is Beach Street. It crosses or it intersects with Rustling Oak there. And we are seeing a lot of these down trees, large trees that were knocked over. This right here, there was a power pole that was just knocked right over here. And you see it took with it some of the tree limbs to a very large tree. It's a lot like this all up and down the street. And people are right now just trying to clean up, cutting up some of the limbs. This is Cassie Harper. This is her home right now. And Cassie, we're going to take a walk over there. But tell me, where were you and just what happened?
Well, I brought my dog to the vet this morning, pulled in the driveway, and it was just storming, just your average storm. My phone was going off, a tornado warning, but that always happens and tornadoes never come. I got out of the truck and got to about that first pole right there and couldn't see it anymore. I looked back and the trees were literally touching the ground. I was digging for my key, trying to get in. Once I got my key, the wind was blowing all the brush, and I couldn't even see to get it in. Well, then my back door busted open. So my front door busted open and it just sucked me through. And then just the roof started falling from there. And my husband was in bed and he was coming down the hallway screaming for me and I'm screaming for him. Luckily my children weren't here. I brought them to daycare early today. So, because my son would have been pretty damaged.
So I know it's a little dark in there, but I do want you to just walk us through a little bit. Now you were talking about where you were standing. You had apparently come over here by this door here, right? So you were actually trying to open the door, and then you just said that like you couldn't even see. And walk me through.
I was trying to get it out of my key out of my purse, and then once I got it, I literally could not see to even put it in the lock. This was blowing all up against me, and then the door just busted open.
And then what's the damage that you saw inside?
I came in, and as soon as I came in, this whole roof fell.
And so you would say that this is completely damaged inside right now, right?
Yes. The attic was already busted through. Jeffrey was coming down the hallway towards me. We went into the extra room, which was the safest area because it wasn't damaged. I immediately called the daycare, made sure my kids were okay. They are. They were totally fine. Thank God.
How long did it last? How long did it feel?
Minutes. I mean, maybe 3 minutes. It just happened so quick. It was crazy. Once we were inside, I panicked. Like, I just fell to my knees in the main room. And once I saw that he was okay and I was okay, my kids were okay, I was like, all right, we got to get out of the house. We went outside. It was still windy, so we came back in. My neighbors, she has 2 kids there staying for the summer, and I heard kids screaming. So I'm climbing through brush. We're getting kids out of houses and putting them in my shed so where they're safe. I mean, it was horrible.
And Steve is actually showing people where your son actually sleeps, and he just happens to be, he's just at daycare, right?
He had a
summer.
Yes, he had summer camp. He had a field trip early this morning, so I actually woke him up early and brought him early. And you can see, you know, that's his bed, the LSU, and it would have landed right on him.
These are the beams from the home and tree limbs also in this room, right?
Yes. You can see the tree directly right there.
Well, I'm so sorry this happened, but, you know, this is really fortunate that your kids were not home, so really that's one good thing.
A blessing, because my daughter's roof did not fall until later. Like, we had just gotten her clothes and her dresser and her bed out, and the whole roof fell.
Now this is where your husband was. It was just in the room next door. I know it's a little dark there, but this one wasn't so damaged, but he was just here when this actually happened.
Yes, he was actually, I left here to go to the vet, and he was sleeping. And he got woke up to me screaming, banging, coming through the front door, and he was coming down the hallway like he couldn't even see inside. He was holding his hands and just trying to look, and then we grabbed each other and went to the safest place in the house.
So I know other neighbors are affected, and so you are trying to, let me just walk out here so you don't get stuck. You're getting help, or you're going to be staying with family right now?
We're actually going to be staying with family for a while. The insurance adjuster is on the way out to try to get the tree off the house. They say we can't do anything until we get the tree off the house, and I don't know how that's going to work.
Where was that large tree? It was actually, it came back. It came from back here, right?
Yes.
Because we're seeing the trees up here. It's kind of like on top of the roof. This is actually part of the roofing. But we're probably going to walk you out here, and you can see the path of that tree when it fell over, how it hit everything.
And this door was right here, and it blew the whole door with the frame out. And I think they created the suction to pull that front door and pull me in, thankfully. So this is the room we came to because it was safe in here and there was no damage. And
you just hunkered down in the corner there?
Literally dropped to my knees and got on my phone and called the daycare, and I was screaming, "Where are my kids? This is Elena's mom, Caden's mom." And they're like, "We're fine. We are fine. What's going on?" I said, "A tornado just ripped through our house."
And now, the last time, you guys were pretty close, too, because apparently a tornado had somehow impacted your neighbor's house here. So you're kind of very close here. And that was recently? That was a year ago?
Yeah. And it just did it damaged 2 of our fence boards, but they lost the whole half of their roof.
So pretty close last time, but this time, unfortunately.
Yeah, this time it got everyone pretty good.
Now, what's back here? Just, it's just like a brush area, is that right?
Yes, it was a yard.
Okay.
This tree right here, it had a little bit of a rotten side, but it wasn't enough to cut down. The insurance people had us cut down one of the trees before because it was rotten, but they said that one was okay. And that's the one that took the whole house out.
Wow, I'm so glad that no one was hurt, knowing that your husband was home at the time and your kids just happened to be at daycare today, because I know it's summer, so they were just out. It was a day camp. No, this is really, it's just breathtaking to see this, because that is a really large tree. It's a really big tree.
It's a huge tree.
Yeah, it's been there for some time.
I mean, I never thought that tree would come out of the ground, or the wind would be strong enough to just snap it in half like that.
Yeah, it's caused a lot of damage. It's to your kids' room, your living room, living space there.
We were able to salvage a lot of stuff, a lot of my children's stuff, My son mainly lost everything but his clothing.
Did you have a plan? Do you have some things gathered? Is that part of living out here sometimes, you know, knowing that we have bad weather?
Yeah, we're never really prepared for it. You just kind of prepare as it comes, which lesson learned. But like I said, you never think it's going to happen. So thankfully we were able to salvage what we could, and now we just kind of go from here.
All right, Cassie, I'm going to check back in on you. I'm really sorry this happened to you, but thank you for talking to us.
No problem. Thank you, guys.
Yes, thank you. Eric, if you have any questions.
Jacqueline, that was just a chilling account to see how fast that can happen, and to be able to walk through and show all that, and then it, just how it sucked her through the door. Just a chilling account to see all that damage. And Dave, this seems to be again indicative of a tornado.
It is, Eric. I want to show you that watching a storm now south of Marrero. Kind of interesting rotation is starting to show up with this storm here. You can kind of see right now, right over the Stell area, seeing some strong rotation tied in with the storm right now. No tornado warning on it right now, but going to be watching this one here very closely with the potential here for maybe a possibility. Nothing yet, no tornado warning, but keeping an eye on this one here. It's part of that storm kind of coming in. Let me see if I can get a... for this, nope, that's it. Tornado warning now just issued for that storm right now in the Marrero area. Looking at the latest radar here, that's that storm, that little appendage, if you will, coming from that storm south of Marrero. This is where we do have that new tornado warning coming out, just coming out now. This does include the metro, let's see, it looks like it includes part of the New Orleans area here, all of New Orleans metro area, not metro area, but Orleans Parish here, back across the river to Jefferson Parish as well, too. This does go in effect until 1 o'clock p.m. Again, this is the storm we're watching here very closely as we go forward here. Let's see here. The storm is, what we're watching is this area right in through here. That's kind of what we're talking about with that. There's a little, I call it the term appendage. That's this little hook trying to form here right now. And with that, we've seen... Again, the potential here from maybe a tornado trying to form at this point. You can see right there, this is the rotation. We're watching at Estelle area as well, too. Continuing to watch this one here, maybe potentially trying to deal with a possibility of a tornado trying to form. Looking at where the rotation is there, kind of north, and this is the best area here. Then you look at the debris tracker, not seeing anything in that location yet, but definitely worth watching. Storms that look very similar to this did produce tornadoes earlier today, so definitely watching this one here. This one is moving off, as you'll see. I'll kind of zoom out a little bit, kind of moving its way here off to the northeast, and it'll be kind of working its way toward part of the Chalmette area as well. Let's see, this one is, let's see, severe tornado warning. Goes into effect here for to 1 o'clock. Again, moving northeast at 40 miles per hour. So let me go ahead and stop this one here and show you. This is what we're looking at right here, moving northeast. So that would take it across part of the metro area. Terrytown would be next on the list there. Harvey, Terrytown, Vieux-Carre, French Quarter, Araby area, Gentilly, and then Seabrook if this continues on its current track and holds together with this one. So we need to be very, very weather aware here in Orleans Parish. We're talking coming on into the metro area with this storm as it comes on in, again, possibly producing maybe a tornado with this one right now. The storm we're watching here is the one that's kind of working its way into the Marrero area. Again, it's likely rain-wrapped. If you're watching us in Marrero, we need to be in a safe place immediately in the lowest level of your home. Again, away from windows. Again, the rotation kind of just now working its way past the Estelle area now and kind of closing in on in between here. Let's go ahead and zoom in. Woodmere area, if you're watching us there, that's where you need to be in your safe place. LA, let's see, 3017, LA 45, those areas heading toward, let's see, this Destrehan Avenue as well. That storm continuing to work its way right through there. That's kind of where we're looking in Woodmere area. This is where we potentially could have a tornado coming on into this area here, kind of working its way toward the Harvey area, eventually toward Gretna, heading toward the Terrytown area, and eventually toward maybe Algiers, crossing on in toward the CBD. The tornado warning, it does include the city of New Orleans. So roughly, depending on how it kind of moves on in, could be closer to the city here in the next, say, 20, 30 minutes or so across the region. So watching this one here very closely. Expressway. Some rotation showing up over in the West Bank, kind of off to the southeast of Marrero, south of Harvey area. This is what we're watching right in through here with the potential for a tornado with that. And haven't really seen anything on the debris tracker yet to indicate that we do have a tornado forming with this one, but definitely worth watching as we go forward here to see if we do start to see something. This is obviously the metro area coming on in closer to the city. We do have the threat there for a possible tornado. If you're watching us over in the West Bank, you need to take shelter immediately. West Wego area is okay, but the Marrero area, you are not. Harvey area, need to be in a safe place right now. Woodmere area, heading over toward West Bank Expressway, of course, we know that one. Heading over toward, there's Manhattan Boulevard. We're looking at that area under the gun for tornado warning as well. Destrehan Avenue, you're under that tornado warning. Lapalco, obviously, right through the heart of that, coming on into the area as well. Definitely need to take shelter immediately. There is some very, very strong rotation showing up with the storm as it's worked its way right about over top of the Woodmere area. We're seeing, again, a strong rotation. This is where the tornado would likely be in this area right in through here as it continues on its track off to the northeast at a fairly good clip, around 40 miles per hour, but continuing to do that as it moves on in. Potentially could be doing some damage there over in the West Bank. I'm going to be watching this one here. I was trying to look at our West Bank cameras, but which are not too far from there, but you can't see. The rain's too heavy. You will not likely be able to see this tornado. It's likely wrapped in rain. You can see here our camera. You can't see much in the camera. It's raining very heavy here, so we are talking heavy, heavy rain coming on in. But this part of the storm we're watching closely is this little, if you will, kind of an appendage area here. This is where that rotation is showing up, and with that in mind, that is where we do have the potential for a possible tornado there over in the West Bank, working its way across the area there. I've seen some strong rotation. This is definitely getting a little bit stronger out there with this rotation coming just off to the southeast there of the Marrero area as well. We haven't seen anything kind of debris yet from this one, but definitely be watching this one here really closely. Let me switch over here to a different radar and see if I can see anything a little bit better with this one. This is our radar over at the airport, the terminal radar, a little bit closer to the region. Let's see, give me a second here, just not really seeing too much on there. But we are looking at, again, you can see kind of this little, if you will, kind of sticking down this little line. That is where we're watching again for a possibility of this tornado. Again, there's some strong rotation showing up in this area right here. I'll zoom back in for those watching. You need to be in a safe place immediately, lowest level of your home, away from windows, an interior bathroom or closet. Again, grab that bicycle helmet if you have it. Make sure you have shoes on your feet if there is a tornado. Again, working its way right there. You can see here, this would be the area we're watching. Again, there's the Palco Boulevard area, intersection of the Palco Boulevard, which is right there, of course, you can see here, as well as Manhattan Boulevard. If you're in that location there, that is where we have, again, some strong rotation coming on through the region, and that's going to continue on its track through there, heading over to parts of the Marrero area, heading toward just south of the Harvey area, eventually toward Gretna and Terrytown, and that's where we do have some of the stronger rotation kind of showing up, at least at this point, with this storm as it continues to move on in across the area. You can see here kind of working its way through, kind of zoom back out here, kind of a more wider perspective of this. And there is that the rotation we're looking at here. This is, as of right now, you can see that location there kind of working its way up from the south. It got a little bit stronger, continues to get a little stronger as it sits just off there to the west of the Bell Chase area, which is not involved with that. But you can see here, that's where we're looking for a potential here for possibility of tornado in this location. Looks like it's working its way toward the Terrytown area now. At this point, the CBD has some very, very, very heavy rain. Likely this will be kind of missing that, heading toward more or less Terrytown and toward the Araby area. With this there again is what our potential hook would be here, kind of moving on in and potentially right through there. That's where we possibly could be dealing with again maybe a tornado there trying to form at this point. Looking at the debris tracker, haven't seen really anything now, but it's right over top of Terrytown's where we're kind of looking at this with that potential, with that strong rotation kind of coming in toward the Terrytown area as well too. as it moves off to the northeast, right around 35 miles per hour. So over there on the West Bank, you need to take shelter immediately. It's rated over the Tarrytown area, Timber Lane location. This is where it's going to be, working its way towards Chalmette and Araby. You will be under the gun. This will miss the downtown area, so the downtown area will be not dealing with the impact of this one here, but definitely some strong rotation that is right through here. We're talking, again, Manhattan Boulevard, La Palca Boulevard. Many of you know that area well. This is where we are watching, again, this storm, potentially that's LA 23, LA 428 out there, dealing with, again, possibility of that. Got the West Bank Expressway eventually to the north there as well, too. Continuing to work its way, whoops, too far there. I can see that is kind of what we're starting to see here, where you can see, let me turn off the radar just so you can see some of the streets there. Terry Parkway area, Wall Boulevard area, heading over toward Oakwood Drive, Carol Sue Avenue. Those are the regions we're watching there with the potential with this rotation showing up. Again, heading right into the Tarrytown area. If you're watching us in Tarrytown, you need to be in your safe place immediately. Marrero, you're okay. Woodmere, you're okay. If you're in your safe place, you can get out. But Tarrytown area, you need to watch this one. McDonoughville, you need to stay in your safe place right now too. Gretna, Algiers area, you need to be in your safe place right now as the storm continues its track there off there to the northeast around 40 miles per hour, 35 miles per hour. Again, the storm coming really close to the metro area. This is definitely the strongest storm we've seen all day here in town and still looking pretty impressive on the radar. You can see right over Tarrytown, if there is a storm, there's a possible tornado. It could be right in through